Chapter 1377. It must be known that just a moment ago, Fatty's expression had been extremely relaxed. All along, he had given them the impression that he was a frivolous, mischievous, and heartless existence. But now, he clearly had the advantage of being much faster than the other teams. Why was he so serious? However, when Fatty became serious, everyone felt a sense of reverence from the depths of their hearts. Even Ling Feng, who had never accepted Fatty as their boss, nodded obediently at this moment. He sat cross-legged on Fatty's huge shoulders and began to comprehend. Xue Fian frowned as she looked at Fatty for a while. Then she took a deep breath and began to comprehend as well. Ao Guang and the others naturally didn't need to be mentioned. Only Wan Yixue, who had fused with Chen Hao's spirit flesh, was slightly worried. By now, she was basically clear about Fatty's situation. Although she didn't know exactly what was going on, she knew that it had something to do with Chen Hao's great lives. That was indeed the case. After entering the space of myriad Daos, Chen Hao had completely released his essence aura. When he replaced Ling Feng and started to teleport, he sensed the auras of the other lives in the same space. What worried him was that the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth lives were all in the opposite direction. In other words, they were the furthest away from him. As for the second life, although he still couldn't capture it, Chen Hao was certain that he was in the vicinity of the other lives, and would definitely choose to attack them one by one. Chen Hao didn't even need to use his, but to think to know that the second life had used his identity to do something. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so coincidental. Fuse them one by one? Dream on. Wang. Chen Hao said coldly in his heart. At the same time, he urged his essence to control the other lives. He couldn't control the second anima, but as for the other animus, if they were in the same space, he could control them. Let's gather. Chi. Following Chen Hao's order, the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth lives were in a bad mood, but they couldn't resist the order from their essences. They could only leave their respective teams and, under the shocked gazes of their teammates, left like lightning. Trace. Chi. On the other side, as Chen Hao and the other great fates gathered together, a resplendent immortal light spilled out from the forehead of Chen Tianhe. An ancient and powerful aura filled the air as an antique mirror engraved with complicated magical symbols floated in front of him. Instantly, several figures appeared in the mirror. They were Chen Hao's other fated fates. As expected, do you think you can stop me just by gathering together? On the contrary, it saved me the trouble of chasing him everywhere. As for this sovereign, indeed couldn't capture it. Chen Tianhe furrowed his eyebrows. Although this was within his expectations, when this situation truly occurred, he was still worried about the mysterious situation within his true self's mind. He was currently using the immortal artifact mirror that he had borrowed from his senior brother. With just a little bit of the origin aura, he could trace all the individuals that possessed the origin aura. However, it was actually ineffective against him. It doesn't matter. All I have to do is absorb these 4 lives, and I'll definitely beat him. Chen Tianhe, who had already made arrangements, informed the team that he was leading and left in a flash. Although he was the commander of Zhulu Academy, all he wanted was a title. With the talent of the top 100 disciples of Zhulu Academy, entering the top 3 was not a problem. Only Star River King's Xiao family and Queen Ying's Jade Maiden Palace might be stronger than Zhulu Academy. However, even if a family or sect were to win first place, it would not affect the Academy's ranking. They were only here to prove their strength and win luck. This was one of the reasons. Secondly, compared to his own fate, how could Zhulu Academy's ranking be qualified? He had to solve his own problem first. I hope you're strong enough. Chen Hao thought to himself as he sensed the origin aura coming from afar. Although his speed was fast, it was impossible for him to reach the other end of the myriad Dao space in time. Even the shortest distance in diameter, without the obstruction of the myriad Dao space, would take more than half a year. By that time, it would be too late, not to mention that there was a myriad Dao space in the way of the myriad Dao space. The other path was to go around the circumference of the myriad Dao space, which was 14 times the diameter. It would take more than a year. Therefore, the only hope now was for the 4 great fates to join together before the second fate defeated them one by one. With the combined strength of the four, they should be able to defeat the second fate. Unfortunately, in the end, Chun Hao had miscalculated under the machinations of second anima. The aura of the four great fates joined together after a month. However, just as Chun Hao breathed a sigh of relief, the origin aura of the four great fates fluctuated violently. After 2 hours, it completely disappeared. Chun Hao could no longer sense the slightest trace of it. This caused Chun Hao's expression to become even more solemn. The aura around his body uncontrollably blossomed with a thick killing intent. If not for Wan Yishui's reminder, none of the members of their team would have been able to calm their hearts and comprehend it. The only fortunate thing was that with Xue Fian, Ling Feng, Ao Guang, and Wan Yishui in the lead, the speed at which they comprehended the myriad Dao space was relatively fast. In a month's time, the 100 of them had actually comprehended the myriad Dao space without wasting much time on the road. This speed wasn't the least bit inferior to the top academies, let alone the top academies. Break. The 63rd layer. I'm actually the first to comprehend it. Ha ha ha. A cultivator had only used 4 hours to comprehend the Dao space, contained within the 63rd layer barrier. He laughed excitedly. At the same time, he didn't waste any time and directly sent out energy to envelop Chun Hao and the others. Then he stepped through the myriad Dao space. This was the specialty of innate talent. Sometimes having a strong perception didn't necessarily mean that you would be the first to comprehend it. It also depended on whether or not it was your cup of tea. If it wasn't your cup of tea, then no matter how strong your perception was, it would still be difficult to comprehend it. At this time Chun Hao let out a long sigh of relief. His furrowed brows relaxed. Ao Guang, Ling Feng and Xue Fian, whose moods had been affected by Fatty, finally heaved a sigh of relief. Brother Fatty, do you have something on your mind? Ao Guang mustered up his courage and asked. At this moment, Ao Guang, Ling Feng, and the others had already discovered that Fatty had actually already conquered all of them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have felt uneasy just because of Fatty's expression and aura. Nothing. Let's go. We have to use our fastest speed to rush to the core. Come, let's compete and see who can comprehend more. All right. Haha. Brother Fatty, I've already comprehended 11 levels. You haven't even comprehended one. Ling Feng said. Although he called himself brother, the way he addressed Fatty had inadvertently changed. That's because Brother Fatty didn't use his full strength just now. However, we're about 10 levels ahead. Brother Fatty, it won't be easy for you to win against us. Haha. Is that so? Then I'll let you guys witness Brother Fatty's true power. Chapter 1378. 1. Activating the great teleportation technique, Chun Hao's eyes shone brightly. Although he was smiling and did not look as serious as before, Chun Hao was no longer the Fatty of the past. The current him made Ao Guang, Ling Feng, Xue Fian, and the rest feel as though he was an unsheathed treasured sword, displaying a brilliance that the Fatty had never displayed before. 64. Fuck. Brother Fatty, it has only been an hour. Oh my god. Brother Fatty, you are too fast. Could it be that you have comprehended a Dao law by chance? You can say that. Stop talking nonsense, continue. 65. 66. Fuck 15 minutes. Brother Fatty, are you going to let us live? I have comprehended it by chance. Sorry, continue. Under the space-time law, 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. Under the leadership of the perverted Fatty, the Zoya Academy was unstoppable. Along the way, as they converged towards the core, they did not encounter a single team. Taking the lead, they broke through to the 5,611th floor. Such a perverted advancement speed made Ao Guang and the others prostrate themselves in admiration. Most of them were comprehended by Chun Hao first. Level 5612. Brother Fatty is too perverted. Based on this trend, does it mean that we are almost guaranteed to get first place? Nonsense, if we keep going at this speed, we will definitely get first place. You have to know that the record has only been maintained for 12 years. We have only used 5 years to reach more than 5,000 levels. 1 year to reach more than 1,000 levels. We will be able to complete it in less than 10 years. Yes, what kind of monster is Brother Fatty? It seems that there is no Tao law that he cannot comprehend. Haha, we don't need to comprehend it. We can just watch. I am afraid that Brother Fatty has already broken the record for the number of levels he has comprehended. Ha ha ha, that won't do. Comprehension is also cultivation. This is the myriad Tao space. Such a cultivation opportunity is hard to come by. Even if you can't comprehend it before Brother Fatty, it is still good to comprehend it. I wonder how long Brother Fatty can use this level. I guess 15 minutes. At most. I'm guessing half an hour. Look, this is the first time Brother Fatty is frowning. Hearing that person's words, everyone was astonished. In the past few years, the Fatty had been able to easily break through his bottleneck. Yet, at this moment, he was actually frowning. What a faintly discernible aura. Could it be the Tao law of deduction? Deduction. It should be the deduction technique. Soon, everyone confirmed that the mysterious aura contained within this layer was related to the deduction technique. And this was where Chun Hao's flaw lay. Deduction. Are you sure? Brother Fatty, I'm sure. I've seen divination experts cast spells many times. Although the aura is different, it definitely contains the aura of divination. Someone in the crowd said. Phew. If that's the case, then I'll have to rely on you guys. The Fatty exhaled and said. What's wrong, fat bro? This is my inborn regret. I can't comprehend anything that involves deduction. Fatty explained. Ahem, me too, Fatty bro. Damn, it can't be so coincidental, right? Me too. Me too. Me too. Ao Guang, Ling Feng, Shuefian, and Wan Yishui also frowned. The four of them, and Chun Hao were the ones with the strongest comprehension ability among the 100 people. If the 5 of them could not comprehend it, then the delay on this layer would definitely be very long. This was not what Chun Hao wanted to see, but there was nothing he could do about it. The deduction technique definitely required a special talent to comprehend. Ordinary people could only comprehend the surface at best. Similarly, Chun Hao was not as optimistic as the others. Although he had broken through more than 500 layers in 5 years, and was very likely to break the previous records, Chun Hao felt that they would not be the only ones who could break the record in this competition. After all, the real great era had arrived. As the legends said, the Emperor Star would appear and the immortal Emperor would appear. Among the disciples participating in this competition, there might be powerful spirits of all things hidden, and it would not be as simple as just 1 or 2. Spirits of all things, reincarnations of immortal emperors. How could their comprehension of this kind of Tao law be poor? Immortal emperors could even integrate 3,000 great Taos into their bodies. At this moment, although they were spirits of all things, what they needed to comprehend was only 10,000 Tao laws. It was not difficult at all. Everyone, do your best to comprehend it. Yes, Brother Fatty. The team from Dahua University stopped for the first time. In the outside world, ha ha ha. Old Chung, you guys have stopped. Did you see that? We're about to catch up. Ha ha. So what if we catch up? Do you think Dahua University is afraid of you? Huh. Our competition is held once every 10 years. You guys have completely fallen behind in the past few hundred years. Isn't it just a Fatty who came back? Don't tell me you expect him to change the situation? Old Chung, if I were you, I would pray that your disciples do not clash with us. Otherwise, if something happens, don't blame our university. Is that so? Li Wuxiang, I realize that you are very despicable. What are you talking about? Didn't we just win a little more than you guys? Our Dahua Academy has treated you like brothers and sisters, and we have interacted with each other for the sake of communication. But all these years, you've only sought victory. You've crushed us and won that insignificant amount of luck. Do you really think that Tang Long is stronger than us? If I'm not wrong, did you say that if you meet Dahua University, you should kill them without mercy? How is that possible? Cheng Wanxiang, don't talk nonsense. However, if your people block our path, it's not something I can control. After all, the closer we are to the core, the narrower the path becomes. Unless we are in the lead, we will meet sooner or later. Oh, by the way, let me tell you something. Shi Chao is the spirit of all things, haha. Cheng Wanxiang's face turned ugly as he stared coldly at Li Wuxiang, who used to be his brother and was now the dean of Tanglong University. Shi Chao was the genius of the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland who crushed Xue Fian, Ling Feng, and Ao Guang in the competition between Dahua University and Tanglong University 300 years ago, which was the year Chen Hao entered the Emperor's Star Secret Realm. Unlike the dispute between Li Wuxiang and Cheng Wanxiang, countless people were shocked by the performance of Dahua University and Tanglong University. No one had expected that the two academies ranked in the top 300 of the first-class academies would be able to surpass so many top-class academies. Their speed of advancement was even faster than Star River King's Xiao family's disciples, Zhilu Academy, Jade Maiden Palace, Snowdrift Academy, and more than a dozen other top-class academies, including Kong Ying's first-class academy. Only now did Dahua University seem to be blocked by a barrier. It could be said that Tanglong Academy, which was the closest to Dahua Academy, was rapidly approaching. Chapter 1379. Such a situation made everyone understand that this year's ranking competition would break all the previous records. The arrival of the real world had exceeded everyone's expectations. Now, before the final stage, several people had broken the record for the number of levels comprehended. The first name on the list was Li Yuan. The second was Chen Tianhe. The third was Kong Ying. The fourth was He Jia. The fifth was Shi Chao. The number of barriers comprehended by each person was more than the sum of the other people in the team. Especially Li Yuan, who was at the top of the list, comprehended as many as 4,235 levels. Only less than 1,400 levels were comprehended by others. Therefore, not to mention Fatty, even the cultivators who were in the top 100 were labeled as the wisest of all creations at this time. However, the most shocking one was not the number one Fatty, but Zhilu Academy's Chen Tianhe. The reason was simple. There was no one in Daya Academy who could comprehend faster than the Fatty. Therefore, he was the first to comprehend. How many heaven-defying monsters were there in Zhilu Academy? However, in such an environment, Chen Tianhe's number of Dao laws was only second to Fatty, who was at the top. In particular, the top teams from Snowdrift Academy, Xiao Family, and Jade Maiden Palace did not have anyone in the top 10. They were all monsters who shared the number of levels of comprehension. Dali Academy, Li Yuan first. At this moment in the Celestial Realm, Chen Wuliang, Han Mei, and Xue Mei stared at the individual comprehension ranking on the screen and murmured excitedly. It must be Tianxi. It had to be. This was Tianxi's name on earth. Furthermore, only my son could be so perverted. Ha ha ha. It must be, I have a feeling. Xue Mei said excitedly. There was no video display in the test, only the teams represented by the light spots, and the top 10,000 on the individual comprehension ranking. It was the same in the field. What's wrong? Look below. Ah. Helian Wuzi Longting Chen Shui Humei Niang. Parkway Academy. The three of them saw a name that made them excited again. However, when they saw that it was Parkway Academy, they were slightly puzzled. Without a doubt, these were the girls who didn't hide their real names. But why weren't they in Huahua University? Xiao Shui. They are actually so strong. In the great world of CND, they are already in the top academy. Moreover, their comprehension speed is very fast. But why isn't she with Hao? Strange. They should have come to the great world of CND together. Could it be that something changed after I left? The three of them discussed excitedly, but they were unable to guess what was going on. He could only wait until he got in touch with them. Under the powerful space-time laws, the outside world seemed to be moving at a very fast speed, but the time in the myriad Tao's space was very slow. 10 days. Chen Hao frowned slightly as he stared at the long and narrow passageway. He had already given up on comprehending, and was just sitting cross-legged at the back of the group, protecting them. There was nothing he could do about it. He was unable to comprehend even the slightest bit of the Tao laws related to the art of deduction. This floor is probably a huge hurdle for any team, right? I hope it won't take too long. Chen Hao didn't like the feeling of relying on others, but there was nothing he could do. Chen Hao's eyes suddenly lit up. Someone actually caught up with us so quickly? In the myriad Tao's space, there were many passageways intertwined with rings. As the distance to the core got closer and closer, The passageways would continue to merge and decrease. Meeting was almost inevitable, unless you were fast enough. So fast that you left everyone in the dust. There's actually someone in front of us? Well, Chunhao was surprised. The leader of the team, who was moving forward quickly, also frowned slightly. Brother Xichao, you sensed it? Yes. How is this possible? Our speed is so astonishing, and there's actually someone in front of us? Yes, we're going to break the record. Brother Xichao, did you sense wrongly? Xichao smiled slightly, shook his head, and said, I've said before, it's not easy to be first. Let's go since we've caught up. No matter who it is, we'll surpass them. Prepare for battle. The opponent should be a team from a top academy. Brother Xichao, if it's a top academy, can we do it? With me here, you can rest assured. Perhaps you won't even need to do anything. Xichao said with a smile, as if he was at ease. Even if they were about to face a powerful top academy, he was not afraid at all. Buzz. Chunhao glanced at the others, who were trying their best to comprehend, and stood up directly. The battle intent around him surged violently in an instant. Chunhao could feel an extremely powerful aura, which was not inferior to his in the slightest. He also knew that the other party had sensed him. However, since the other party did not turn around to look for a passage on the side, and instead came directly toward them, it meant that the other party wanted to snatch it. You've come at the right time. Chunhao, who was unable to comprehend, said excitedly. He was bored, and although he knew that the other party was very strong, it still made him excited. Brother Fatty, what's wrong? Although Chunhao had already controlled his battle intent, it was still detected by Ao Guang, Ling Feng, and Xuefian, who were also unable to comprehend and deduce the rules of Tao. Someone's coming, Chunhao said in a deep voice. Ao Guang and the other two were slightly surprised. Immediately, the three of them released their perception, and a look of surprise appeared on their faces at the same time. Fuck. Motherfucker, it's actually him. Tanglong Academy. What Chunhao did not expect was that Ao Guang, Ling Feng, and Xuefian actually recognized the other party's aura. Tanglong Academy, our brother academy. You guys went to participate in the exchange competition? Chunhao asked. That's right. Brother Fatty, after you went to the Emperor's Star Secret Realm, the exchange competition became an exhibition match for that guy from the Tanglong Academy. The three of us, and Chen Ritian. Chunhao frowned slightly. He had merged with Chen Ritian, but he did not merge with Chen Ritian's memories for the time being, in order to prevent it from affecting his state of mind at this crucial moment. At this moment, Chen Ritian's memories were still sealed in his mind. Otherwise, he would have been able to recognize the other party's aura. He's called Xichao, the chief disciple of the Tanglong Academy. Ling Feng said. Brother Fatty, his comprehension of absolute arts and the rules of Tao has completely surpassed the limits of his realm. Although we've improved quite a bit in the past 300 years, we don't have any confidence in facing him. Ao Guang said with a depressed expression. This was the truth. Ao Guang felt that the current him was still not a match for Xichao from 300 years ago. Not to mention, Xichao's aura was even more powerful after 300 years. Although Ling Feng and Xuefian did not want to admit it, they felt the same as Ao Guang. Chapter 1380. I think it's because of Xichao that they can be so fast. The dean said that Xichao might be the reincarnation of the Celestial Emperor. Now I'm almost sure. So strong? His aura is really strong. Chunhao's battle intent surged even more fiercely. Fatty, you want to fight? Xuefian asked. Xuefian, who had returned to her original appearance, was not as emotionless as before. She was also more talkative than before. Should I hide? That's not my style. Okay, let's fight. Damn it, if we can't win, we can just run. Anyway, with my speed and Brother Fatty's speed, we can escape. Ling Feng said. This caused Chunhao to be slightly surprised. For the prideful Ling Feng to say such words, it was enough to prove that Xichao was strong to the point where Ling Feng felt that he was no match for him from the bottom of his heart. Otherwise, Ling Feng would definitely not say such words. Boom. Boom. Xuefian did not say anything. Like Ao Guang and Ling Feng, her battle intent surged. At this time Wan Yishui, who was not in the state of enlightenment, quietly came to Fatty's side. Her fine black hair fluttered in the wind, and she was ready to fight. After returning, Wan Yishui could not get used to her relationship with Chen Hao, especially in front of Ao Guang, Ling Feng, and the other old friends of Fatty. She could not let go. It's them? When Ao Guang, Ling Feng, and Xue Fian stood up and released their auras, Shi Chao instantly recognized their auras. Brother Shi Chao, who is it? Dahua Academy. Ah, Dahua Academy? How could they be in front of us? That's the truth. It should be related to someone I haven't seen before, but I feel a little familiar. Dahua Academy, haha, since it's not a top academy, it's even easier. Let's speed up. 10 minutes passed quickly. Chi. Shi Chao led a team of 100 people and arrived at lightning speed. Ha ha. It's really Dahua Academy. Tisk Tsk Xue Fian, your disguise was so ugly, and you even lost your primordial Yin body. Now you're perfect. What's more, your original body is so cold and sexy. Haha, that's right. She's barely qualified to be Brother Shi Chao's Dao companion. Oi oi losers. Although we are from the same school, a competition is a competition. Are you going to give up your seats? Or do you want us to do it? As soon as they arrived, the disciples of Tanglong Academy all had mocking expressions on their faces. They didn't put Dahua Academy in their eyes at all. Shi Chao stood with his hands clasped behind his back and a faint smile on his face. His gaze fell on the fatty's face, but he didn't say anything. Only his narrowed eyes grew sharper as he met Chen Hao's gaze. This fatty is very strong. Shi Chao sensed a dangerous aura from the fatty, who was also smiling but had a rising battle intent. This was his keen intuition that surpassed his own realm. Boom. Boom. It was also at this moment that the disciples of Tanglong Academy released their auras in a frenzy, directly suppressing the people of Dahua Academy who were sitting cross-legged. Has anyone succeeded? Boom. Boom. The disciples of the University of Taoism woke up one by one. At first, they thought that someone had comprehended it first, but when they woke up, they realized that something was amiss. Shi Chao. Tanglong Academy. Instantly, many people cried out in alarm. The disciples present were all the top disciples of Dahua Academy's Daoyuo Golden Wonderland. How could they not know how terrifying Shi Chao was in this competition that was held once every 10 years? And from the other party's aura, it was obvious that he wanted to take over the territory, interrupting the comprehension of our Dahua Academy's disciples. This reason is enough for me to kill all of you. The fatty suddenly spoke. An incomparably sharp aura, a terrifying pressure, directly pressed down on everyone from Shi Chao Academy. The disciples who were mocking him immediately shut their mouths. Their faces changed as they looked at the fatty in shock. Soon after, they looked at their commander, Shi Chao. Shi Chao smiled faintly and said indifferently, I am Shi Chao. May I ask, how do I address this brother? Are you the commander? Li Yuan. Commander. Are you sure you want to snatch this place? What, you don't want to give way? But it doesn't matter. Taking care of your Dahua Academy won't take long. Your aura is very strong. It seems to be on par with mine. But, did they not tell you where I am strong? In front of me, your aura is strong. It is useless. If you know what's good for you, leave on your own. We will meet again in the future. After all, we are brothers. What do you say? Shi Chao's smiling expression did not change. But because of the fatty's aura, his eyes suddenly became cold. At the same time, a terrifying pressure exploded out from his body and enveloped Chen Hao and the rest. The words that he said also became arrogant and overbearing. What a good brother academy. I will give you the same words. A wise man submits to circumstances. 1. Scram immediately. 2. Fight with me. The loser scram. The fatty was originally slightly excited, and his fighting spirit was rising. However, after hearing his words, he became abnormally calm. An ice-cold murderous intent was quietly born and spread out, causing his domineering voice to be filled with an unquestionable tone. This caused everyone to believe that the fatty was not an alarmist. What a strong killing intent. Since you are not convinced, I will fight with you. However, fists and legs have no eyes. You are responsible for your own life and death. That's exactly what I want. Brother Fatty. Fatty. Ao Guang, Ling Feng and Xuefian were extremely nervous. However, the fatty waved his hand and stopped them. Boom. Boom boom. At the same time, Chen Hao and Shi Chao exploded. Their essence, chi and spirit soared to the sky. A terrifying aura was released. Everyone back off. Shi Chao and Chen Hao ordered their people at the same time. In fact, there was no need for them to say anything. Many people could not withstand the aura that they released and had already retreated. Brother Fatty, be careful. Fatty, just do your best. At most, we will give in to them. Xuefian said. You don't have to worry about him. Wan Yishui was the calmest at this moment. This was because he knew how abnormal Chen Hao was. Although Shi Chao was strong, the fatty was definitely not weaker than Shi Chao. She was sure of this. We meet. I'm sorry, old Chung. I'm afraid your great transformation realm will have to go to another passage. Haha, but it won't take long. At most, it will take 1 or 2 months. After all, you are still in the first camp. That might not be the case. It's not like you haven't seen how strong Shi Chao is. Why are you so stubborn? Don't worry, I definitely did not say anything about killing without mercy. However, since we meet, it's inevitable that there will be casualties. Don't blame me. I'll return the same words to you. Just wait and see, Li Wuxiang. You will cry. You are really a stone in the latrine pit. Smelly and stubborn. Who will cry? Chapter 1381. Cheng Wanxiang and Li Wuxiang couldn't see what was going on inside the myriad Dara space, but they could see that the dots representing the 2 academies had overlapped. They knew what was going to happen next. Whichever dot of light left would mean that the academies had lost. Li Wuxiang didn't doubt Shi Chao's ability at all. As the leader of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, Shi Chao already had the strength to fight with the leader of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, Ding Ling. What kind of concept was that? Ding Ling was Li Wuxiang's personal disciple. He was so strong that he could be ranked among the top academies. Shi Chao of the Daluo Golden Wonderland could actually fight with Ding Ling of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. This wasn't a simple challenge. Boom. Shi Chao's hands formed seals with lightning speed. Suddenly he clapped his hands, and a huge rune appeared out of thin air. It covered the sky and covered the sun like a huge black hole, and directly swallowed Chen Hao. He displayed an extremely terrifying strength as soon as he made his move. Chen Hao's eyes shone brightly. His black hair danced in the wind as a strong will of slaughter bloomed. He also took out his treasured sword, sending out a continuous stream of sword light. The great 5 elements art, metal, wood, water, fire and earth, evolved into the supreme laws of heaven and earth. When the sword bloomed, it could suppress the 9 heavens and slay immortals and gods. In that instant, a sword cry like a dragon's roar rang out, piercing through the endless starry river and connecting the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Bang! Chen Hao took a step forward, causing the earth to tremble. His essence, energy and soul boiled. Qi, 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 qi. It was the same 5 elements art, but after returning from the Emperor Star Mystic Realm, Chen Hao had unleashed an attack that completely surpassed the level he had unleashed when he battled the 8th anima Chen Ritian. It was a supreme mystery, and the 5 elements circulated, increasing his power by countless times. Within his sword intent, it was as if he had unleashed the concept of Xian Huang. The black hole collapsed, and Chen Hao's fat figure walked out from the darkness towards the dawn. He stepped out from the dazzling sword light, and stood with his sword in hand. Every inch of his skin was blooming with boundless blood energy, and a terrifying aura flowed around him. Qi. Chen Hao did not stop at all. He swung his sword again, and merged with heaven and earth. Borrowing the power of heaven and earth, he condensed a huge sword light. Shi Chao remained calm and unruffled as he pointed out with his finger. A black hole suddenly appeared and swallowed the huge sword light before disappearing. It was as if Chen Hao's sword light had been drawn into the chaotic space without causing the slightest ripple. Chen Hao was taken aback. No wonder Ao Guang, Ling Feng, and Xuefian were so worried about him. This person was indeed unfathomable. and he was definitely a mortal enemy. It was impossible to predict who would be the stronger one. Flower fall. Xi Chao shouted. Then crystal-clear petals fell from the sky like a rain of petals. Every petal contained mysterious runes and surged with the power of Tao. Xi Chao stood in the air at the source of the flower rain. His long hair fluttered in the wind, making him look like an immortal. Chen Hao, on the other hand, felt as if a knife was cutting through his bones. He felt an immense pressure, and his body and soul felt as if they were about to collapse. Pressure that completely surpasses the realm? How could it be so powerful? Chen Hao was shocked. Human destruction. Xi Chao waved his hand. The petals formed into flowers, which then turned into a waterfall made of thousands of petals, which poured down from the sky. Rumble. Endless Tao laws fell. The majestic energy and terrifying pressure destroyed everything in its way. Qi, 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 qi. Chen Hao's sword light flowed and an extremely sharp sword essence gushed out. His wrist shook thousands of times in an instant, and the heaven and earth turned into dazzling sword light. Every petal was a sword light. At the same time, the aura that Chen Hao exuded had completely surpassed the limits of his realm. He was on par with Xi Chao and was not at a disadvantage. You do have some skills, but it's not enough. Xi Chao was slightly surprised. Then he suddenly strengthened his attack. In an instant, the endless flowers scattered and turned into crystal-clear petals. Every petal seemed to have turned into an extremely sharp sword light that slashed toward Chen Hao. Chi, chi, chi. Ear-rending sounds were heard. In an instant, the sky was filled with dancing petals. Endless mysterious Tao laws bloomed from the petals. It was extremely terrifying. It was many times more terrifying than before, and it displayed an even more terrifying Tao law battle technique. The indescribable pressure and the aura that could destroy heaven and earth and wipe out all life seemed as if doomsday had arrived. Chen Hao frowned slightly and looked solemn. He suddenly moved his hand that was holding the sword and evolved the Taiji sword technique with the immortal sword principle. The Taiji diagram of yin and yang was instantly born from the sword light. He stepped on the core of the Taiji diagram, and his sword formed a sphere. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately, a terrifying collision broke out, and the entire space shook violently. The petals dissipated and the Taiji diagram shattered. They were evenly matched. You can even block this? Xi Chao's eyes flickered and revealed a trace of shock. However, he soon calmed down and took the initiative to attack Chen Hao again. He displayed another terrifying unique skill that was beyond the limits of his realm. Chen Hao was shocked. Although he was mentally prepared, he still felt a huge pressure. However, under this pressure, Chen Hao, who was belligerent in his bones, was more excited than excited. Sword. Chen Hao continued to use his sword Dao to break through the attacks, not holding back at all. Various sword Dao laws and profundities constantly bloomed from the sword light, confirming Chen Hao's comprehension during this period of time, and gradually fusing into the solitary sword art. Qi. Endless killing intent burst forth. Under Xi Chao's increasingly terrifying attacks, Chen Hao finally merged the great teleportation technique and the solitary sword technique together for the first time in a battle. His entire body turned into a sword light, and his killing moves were endless. While Xi Chao was shocked, he also displayed all his trump cards. Shocking unique skills that had never been seen or heard of emerged one after another. The shocking battle between the two forced the crowd to retreat further and further. They were all frightened and shocked. Even Xuefian, Ling Feng, Ao Guang, and the others did not expect Chen Hao and Xi Chao to have reached such a terrifying level. It was not something they could compete with now. Although their realms were the same, their strength had exceeded the limits of their realms. Chen Hao crazily gathered his strength. Endless sword principle profound meanings were changing in his hands. It was unpredictable, and he was using it more and more smoothly. The more he fought, the braver he became. Xi Chao felt a trace of pressure, and became more and more crazy. In next to no time, the battle between the two of them had reached its climax. Chen Hao let out a long howl as various dazzling and profound sword lights appeared, blotting out the sky and covering the earth as they charged toward Xi Chao with the intention of taking him down. Celestial slaying technique. It was also at this moment that Xi Chao let out a loud roar. His strength instantly increased by countless times, becoming incomparably shocking. He actually met the endless sword light head-on. With the momentum of close combat, he forcefully broke through the layers of sword light and charged towards Chen Hao. Chen Hao's pupils shrank and bloomed with excitement. Close combat was Chen Hao's favorite way of fighting. It was also the most dangerous and the most tempering way. Chapter 1382. What? But in an instant, Chen Hao was shocked. The immortal exterminating art contained boundless energy and profound laws. It was definitely not something that Chen Hao could comprehend right now. Once they collided, Chen Hao would definitely be injured. This was without a doubt, but this was not what shocked Chen Hao. What shocked Chen Hao was that Shi Chao did not defend at all. He only attacked, as if he was risking his life. In almost an instant, Chen Hao concluded that Shi Chao's immortal exterminating art was not as simple as it seemed. Otherwise, how could he risk his life before it was a matter of life and death? At the very least, Chen Hao did not think that his opponent had used up all his trump cards. Unfortunately, in this instant, even if Chen Hao felt that something was wrong, he could not change anything. He could only face it head-on. This fatty is actually so strong. He actually forced brother Shi Chao to the point of risking his life. How is this possible? This fatty is not simple. He is definitely the reincarnated spirit of all living things. Otherwise, it is impossible for him to force brother Shi Chao to this extent. However, brother Shi Chao definitely has a backup plan. Otherwise, he would not be risking his life right now. The Tanglong Academy's disciples stared at the two people fighting in the distance and were overwhelmed with shock. Chi. Boom boom boom. A terrifying explosion erupted between Chen Hao and Shi Chao. Chen Hao's plump figure was sent flying back while spurting out blood. However, he did not panic. At the same time, he brandished his sword, condensing runic sword light to block Shi Chao's attack. Shi Chao's attack was terrifying, mysterious, and relentless like a shadow. Boom boom boom. That scene was like a series of bombs exploding between Chen Hao and Shi Chao. It was extremely shocking. The participating disciples of Dahua Academy, Ao Guang, Ling Feng, Xuefian, and even Wan Yishui, who was very confident in Chen Hao's strength, held their breaths nervously. They were sweating profusely for Chen Hao. Strong. Ruthless. Today Shi Chao was many times stronger than 300 years ago. Ao Guang and the other two were sure that 300 years ago, they and Chen Ritian were unable to force Shi Chao to use his true strength. Otherwise, Shi Chao's advancement would be too terrifying. Ah. What? Suddenly, the Tanglong Academy's disciples began to cry out in fear. The students from the University of Cathay widened their eyes in disbelief. It could be said that other than Chen Hao, no one would have thought that Shi Chao, who had completely given up on defense, would actually be annihilated by Chen Hao's incomparably fierce sword light when he launched his most ferocious attack. Shi Chao's body was directly torn into pieces, but he also took the opportunity to imprint the strongest rune of the celestial slaying art on Chen Hao's body. Chen Hao's body and soul were severely shaken. Even the powerful immortal golden body could not withstand it. In an instant, his 5 viscera were shattered, his tendons and meridians were all broken. Blood spurted out from all over his body, turning him into a bloody man. However, this was only a physical injury. The attack on his soul was beyond Chen Hao's imagination. It had to be said that the celestial slaying art was much more terrifying than Chen Hao had imagined. Fortunately, Shi Chao's own realm limited his absolute power. Otherwise, Chen Hao would not be so simple as being severely injured. Ruthless. Boom. Chen Hao snorted coldly. Enduring the double damage to his body and soul, he frantically gathered his energy again when his opponent's body was clearly destroyed. Impossible, impossible. How could brother Shi Chao lose to him? Brother Shi Chao has the strength to fight against Ding Ling, the reincarnation of the spirit of all things. How could it be so simple? Brother Fatty is so strong. He won. Brother Fatty actually defeated Shi Chao. Ha! Ah! When both sides thought that the outcome had been decided, they were both frightened and happy. Suddenly, they were all stunned. Great Nirvana art. Shi Chao's cold voice suddenly sounded, as if it came from the depths of hell. Boom. The cry of a phoenix pierced through the sky and resounded through heaven and earth. In the void, endless flames appeared out of nowhere and burned fiercely. The destroyed Xichao was reborn in the blazing flames. Great Nirvana Art. One of the most powerful ultimate arts of the 3000 Great Tao. It was countless times more powerful than the Undying Bloodline, because the Undying Bloodline needed time to recover. However, the Great Nirvana Art could be reborn in an instant, directly to the peak state. What kind of concept was this in battle? Any cultivator who could cultivate the Great Nirvana Art was definitely an extremely abnormal existence. This was a heaven-defying Great Tao. Fortunately, it could not be used continuously for a certain period of time. Otherwise, no one in the same realm would be a match for him. At this time, everyone finally understood why Chen Hao did not care about his injuries and gathered his energy after Xichao was destroyed. Obviously, Chen Hao had already predicted that Xichao would not die so easily. You didn't die? Xichao, who was full of energy and spirit again and had successfully undergone nirvana, looked at Chen Hao in shock and his pupils shrank. This time, after discovering the fatty's terrifying strength, Xichao knew that if he wanted to take him down, he could only use his strongest strength without holding back. The combination of the Immortal Vanquishing Art and the Great Nirvana Art was undoubtedly his strongest killing move. With his comprehension that surpassed his realm, not to mention the geniuses of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, even the geniuses of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm would be killed by Xichao. However, although the fatty in front of him was severely injured, his life was not in danger. What shocked Xichao even more was that the fatty seemed to know that he had the Great Nirvana Art as a backup, and had forcibly gathered his energy in advance. The fatty, whose eyes were cold, did not say anything and did not give Xichao any time to breathe. The energy that he had gathered in advance was violently blasted out from the treasure sword. Endless destructive and murderous intents were contained within, forming a terrifying sword light that seemed to want to swallow the world. Sword devouring the world. Xichao was shocked. He did not expect Chen Hao's soul and physical body to be so strong. Even when his Immortal Vanquishing Art's Tao mark was severely injured, his sword principle unique art could still be so terrifying. Boom. Boom boom boom. Even though Xichao was in his peak state, he could only hastily defend himself against the terrifying attack that the fatty was prepared for. This time, he was caught off guard by the severely injured fatty's attack. He vomited blood and was sent flying. He was instantly severely injured. Murderous, indestructible, destructive. The three sword principles were merged together. Almost in an instant, Xichao felt the aura of sword principle contained in the fatty's Tao mark. What shocked him was that as the spirit of all things and as a fully awakened being, he could not erase the fatty's Tao mark from his body in a short period of time, let alone comprehend it. Moreover, the most important point was that the fatty's three-sword Taos were not as high as the heavenly Tao law that he had comprehended. This meant that the fatty had fused and condensed a type of heavenly Tao law that was so powerful that even the heavenly Tao law that was a certain level higher than him couldn't forcefully break it. Chapter 1383. Xichao did not dare to hesitate any longer. He urged his mind to resist Chen Hao's Tao marks while healing his injuries and gathering his strength. At this moment, Chen Hao, who had severely injured Xichao, finally stopped. He did not dare to delay any longer, and began reciting the primary outline of the Great Tao in his mind. At the same time, he activated his Undying Bloodline to quickly heal his injuries. Under the effect of the primary outline of the Great Tao, Chen Hao's healing speed suddenly increased by several times. His Undying Bloodline boiled and flowed several times faster. It was as if every meridian and bone in his body was humming. His internal organs were vibrating, and there was a majestic vitality spreading from every cell in Chen Hao's body. It healed Chen Hao's injuries at an astonishing speed. What a pure Undying Bloodline! What a majestic blood qi! At this moment, the cultivators who were staring at Chen Hao all exclaimed. Xichao's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect Chen Hao's recovery speed to be so shocking. It was definitely twice as fast as his. This was a race against time. Whoever recovered faster would undoubtedly obtain the final victory. But now Xichao, who cultivated the Great Nirvana Art, was not as fast as Fatty. One had to know that even if he could not use the Great Nirvana art again, because of the Great Nirvana art's profound meaning, his recovery speed could only be described as shocking. Seal. Shi Chao suddenly let out a loud shout, and the sword Dao Law imprinted on his body immediately disappeared. He could not break it for the time being, but with the powerful sealing ability, he blocked the destructive power of Chen Hao's Dao marks on his body and soul. Rumble. It was also at this moment that Shi Chao's bloodline aura exploded from within his body with a loud boom. The sound was so loud that it was deafening. Crackle. His severed meridians and bones were all crackling as they were quickly reconnected and repaired. With this, his recovery speed increased by an unknown number of times. Even Chen Hao was inferior to him. In the same realm, no one can beat me, Shi Chao. So what if you have the undying bloodline and 3-sword Daos? His comprehension is far inferior to mine. Ever since Shi Chao made his debut, especially after he fully awakened, no matter what kind of opponent he encountered, he had never tasted defeat. Although today was undoubtedly the strongest opponent he had encountered, he believed that the final victory would still be his. What a powerful seal. It can actually completely block my Dao marks? As expected of the spirit of all living beings, divine ability laws are endless. Chen Hao's heart trembled. At this moment, he was certain that Shi Chao's recovery speed was much faster than his. However, Chen Hao did not have the slightest intention of admitting defeat. His opponent wanted to kill him. At this point, how could admitting defeat be of any use? What's more, Chen Hao, the god of slaughter, who was prideful to the bone, did not have the word surrender in his dictionary. Moreover, until now, he had only displayed the limits of his swordsmanship. Phew! Chen Hao closed his eyes and calmed himself down completely. In a life-and-death situation, he had to find a solution. He didn't want to give up using sword principle until the last moment. After all, his goal was to reach the top 10 with sword principle. Enlightenment. Enlightenment in a life-and-death situation. No one dared to have such thoughts. At this point, they were still thinking about how to comprehend the sword principle and improve their combat strength in battle. For most people, this was simply impossible. While Chen Hao was healing his injuries, his heart gradually calmed down, and he immersed himself in the sword principle's profound meaning. At this moment, his aura quietly changed. The aura of man, sword, and sword gradually merged into one. He, who stood proudly with his sword, seemed to have turned into a treasured sword that connected heaven and earth. Sword intent, pure and non-elemental sword intent, began to blossom in his spiritual platform, forming a sword-shaped shadow that enveloped his body. It's useless. You're the first to force me to this point. This time I won't hold back. You should be proud that you can die under the true power of the immortal slaying art. Shi Chao's cold voice sounded. Boom. Immediately, the immortal slaying art was the first to be released. In an instant, the entire sky fell into endless darkness. Under the envelopment of the boundless aura of destruction, boundless pressure, and deathly silence, not to mention Chen Hao who was at the front. Even the people from the two sides that were spectating in the surroundings felt as if the end of the world had arrived, and it was terrifying to the extreme. This time, the power was at least twice as strong as before, completely exceeding the limits of Shi Chao's own energy. There was no doubt that under the pressure brought by the fatty, Shi Chao broke through his own shackles and his little universe erupted. Chi, 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 chi. Chen Hao's injuries had not healed, but he had to forcefully raise his energy again. He continuously released sword after sword, but he could not stop the devouring of the destructive black hole. Blood flowed from his mouth, his arm was broken, and his body flew backward again. However, Chen Hao controlled the treasured sword with his mind and slashed out again. Boom, boom. Every time the sword was released, the space would collapse. In the narrow passage, energy raged and explosions were continuous. Ao Guang and the others had to retreat again and again. They were extremely nervous. Strong, it was simply too strong. Such an attack was simply not something that anyone present could withstand. Chen Hao retreated again and again. He was in the most dangerous battle of his life. Danger surrounded him, and he could die at any time under the immortal slaying art. Too strong. Immortal slaying art, immortal slaying. I'm afraid it's his own great Tao. Otherwise, it's impossible to break out so much beyond his own realm. Chen Hao thought to himself. No one knew that until now, Chen Hao was still resisting the terrifying immortal slaying art while comprehending the supreme sword Tao contained in Miao Xian's vital Yin inheritance. He was constantly comprehending the feeling of evolving in his hands. At this time, although he was completely at a disadvantage and was defending more than attacking, the sword light that he controlled with his mind became smoother and smoother. There was a kind of natural sword Tao charm. At this moment, Chen Hao was like a real sword cultivator. Looking at the sword light coming and going, looking at the birth and death of the runes, and letting the destruction descend and be annihilated, his heart was calm. Only the true essence of sword Tao was in his mind, verified by every move. He was immersed in the battle, but he was detached from the battlefield. He had completely thrown the pain of his body and soul to the back of his mind. Heaven, earth, sword, man. Heaven and earth is one, heaven and man is one, heaven and sword is one, man and sword is one. Heaven is the sword, earth is the sword. I am the sword is heaven, the sword is earth, the sword is me. Heaven and earth, sword and man is one. No heaven, no earth, no me, only the sword. In this detached state of mind, Chen Hao's body and soul became naturally ethereal. In the face of life and death, he forgot himself and became more and more free. Man and sword is one, sword and Tao is one, Tao is one. Chapter 1384. Gradually, Chen Hao clearly felt that his body, soul, and state of mind were beginning to harmonize with heaven and earth, until they were completely harmonized. After stepping into the Daluo Golden Wonderland for so many years, this was the first time Chen Hao had captured the aura of the great perfection stage of heaven and earth as me, and I as heaven and earth. A mysterious and profound feeling appeared in his heart. Boom! It was also at this moment that Chen Hao's body suddenly shook, and endless dense qi gushed out from his body. In just an instant, his injuries were healed, and even the marks of the immortal slaying art were directly destroyed by the dense qi, instantly disappearing without a trace. What? Countless cries of surprise rang out. No one had expected Fatty to break through the shackles of his own realm during the battle, and step into the great perfection stage from the peak of the late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland. Although this was only a small increase in realm, the mysterious aura brought about by breaking through the shackles of his own body allowed Chen Hao to directly return to his peak state. Boom! Boom boom boom! The immortal blood qi filled the air, and a majestic and terrifying essence qi and spirit soared into the sky, like an incomparably sharp sword light piercing through the sky. At this moment, Chen Hao felt that heaven and earth were moving because of him, and tens of thousands of Daos were resonating with him. He who had advanced to the great perfection stage felt an unprecedented power amidst this wonderful dense qi. All the profound meanings of the lost arts that he had comprehended before appeared clearly in his mind. The profound meanings of the lost arts and Daos that he had comprehended, but could not fully comprehend for the time being, were now integrated, and he broke through the barrier of his own comprehension. Boom 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 boom! Endless heaven and earth spiritual qi suddenly gathered madly towards Chen Hao, directly pouring into Chen Hao's body through every pore of his body. Chen Hao felt that at this moment, he was like a dry sponge that had encountered water. There was no need for him to activate it, and the heaven and earth spiritual qi madly integrated into every cell of his body, causing his physical aura to soar at an astonishing speed. Power. A powerful sense of power that controlled everything spread in Chen Hao's heart. He felt that at this moment, he had the power to shatter the void with his fists, and was omnipotent. Roar! Chen Hao couldn't help but let out a long howl at the sky. Rumble rumble rumble! The roar was like a thunderous roar, transforming into a terrifying sound wave attack that rushed toward Xi Chao, whose expression had become extremely grave. Qi. At the same time, Chen Hao brandished his sword and violently launched a fierce counterattack, approaching Xi Chao. Boom! Xi Chao was incomparably cold as he madly activated the immortal vanquishing chant. He raised his strength to the limit and violently welcomed the attack. Boom 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 boom! But this time Xi Chao, who had always had the upper hand, was forced back by Chen Hao. Xi Chao's heart trembled. He knew that at this moment, Chen Hao had improved to a level that was not inferior to his own. Especially when Chen Hao was still in the peak state brought about by a small increase in cultivation level, and in the realm of the fusion of all methods. No matter which point it was disadvantageous to him. Bang! Shi Chao suddenly launched an extremely powerful attack. His figure retreated rapidly like a swimming dragon, drifting unpredictably. Even Chen Hao's pressure was unable to lock onto his chi. Humph, let's see how long you can last. Shi Chao snorted coldly. You've only just reached the great perfection stage, and have aroused your strongest battle strength. Once the realm of the fusion of all methods disappears, what do you have to fight me with? Haha. Don't try to lock onto my chi. My state of mind has completely surpassed the limits of my cultivation level. No matter how strong your pressure is, you can't lock onto me who is countless realms higher than you. Today you're dead for sure. Shi Chao's divine transformation was like a divine dragon roaming the horizon, drifting unpredictably as he fought with Chen Hao. He needed time to recover, and also time to wait for Chen Hao's strongest state to pass. At that time, it would be time for him to kill Chen Hao. No one could force him into such a situation, and continue to live well. Is that so? Buzz. Chen Hao countered with a question. His body suddenly shook, and he actually stopped. Hiss. Shortly after, the fatty, whose lips curled into a cold arc, vanished into thin air. Yes, he disappeared into thin air. There was no surge of Taoist law, nor was there any fluctuation of qi. He just disappeared into thin air. No one, including Shi Chao, could sense a trace of Chen Hao's qi. What a powerful concealment technique. Amazing, there's no qi at all? Countless people exclaimed in surprise. At this point, no one could predict the final result. Whether it was Shi Chao or the fat man, both of them had endless trump cards. How could they predict? Just as Cheng Wanxiang had said, even he, a true immortal king, could not predict who was stronger among the monstrous disciples. Only after a real battle would it be clear. Merging with everything in the world, Chen Hao finally used this abnormal concealment technique once again. Just as Shi Chao had said, Chen Hao was indeed unable to lock onto Shi Chao, who had completely surpassed his own cultivation level. Since that was the case, he had no choice but to move himself into the shadows. What a powerful concealment technique. Shi Chao immediately frowned. Although he was confident in his movement technique, the foundation of his movement technique was to know the enemy's location. At this moment, he could not even sense a trace of Chen Hao's qi. How could he use this technique to target him? Humph! Are you trying to escape? Since you're a coward, don't blame me for forcing you to show yourself. Junior brothers and sisters, listen to my order. Work together to seal off the rear. Shi Chao gave the order almost instantly. His cold voice was filled with endless killing intent. Yes, senior brother. Qi, 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 qi. The disciples of Tanglong Academy, who had retreated far away, immediately gathered their strength. In an instant, runes floated out, and 99 people worked together to seal off the retreat. For Chen Hao and the others from Dahua Academy, there was a barrier in front of them that they had not comprehended for the time being, and 99 people working together to seal off the rear. To put it bluntly, they were like turtles in a jar. As long as Shi Chao and the others from Tanglong Academy were strong enough, they could definitely kill Chen Hao and the others one by one. Kill them. Shi Chao's cold voice sounded again. Senior brother Shi Chao, are we really going to kill them? Senior brother Shi Chao, we're brothers after all. Nonsense. So what if we're brothers? This is a competition. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the brave will win. Put away your motherfucking benevolence and obey the commander's orders unconditionally. Otherwise, you'll be killed without mercy. A disciple from Tanglong Academy with a powerful aura shouted sternly. Yes. Boom. Boom. Although there were still a few people who were unwilling, at this point, no one dared to disobey the order. Fuck. Motherfucker, do you think we're afraid of you? Boom. 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 Ao Guang, Ling Feng, Xuefian, Wan Yishui, and the other disciples from Dahua Academy were all furious. No one had expected things to develop to this point. They did not expect Shi Chao to be so ruthless. Chapter 1385. At this moment no one retreated. Only the brave would emerge victorious. Everyone was clear about this. Even though most of the disciples from Taoist University felt that they weren't as strong as Tanglong University, they could only fight to the death when the other party wanted to kill them all. That way they would still have a chance to live. Otherwise, they would only be at the mercy of others. Boom. Ao Guang waved his Rui Jingu bang violently. Ling Feng's heavenly steed soaring sky art took the lead. Runes shone around Xuefian's body. She, whose body had become a weapon, released her aura without holding back. Wang. At this moment, Wan Yixue also made his move. In an instant, the aura of the green jade ripple technique spread out like a breeze. The moment the disciples of Taoist University came into contact with this aura, they felt refreshed and their spirits clear. It was as though they had just broken through the barrier of cultivation, and felt much stronger. After giving the order, Shi Chao also took the lead and charged towards Taoist University. He was going to start a massacre. Even though he didn't show it, the fatty's strength, especially his abnormal ability to comprehend and grow in battle, made him feel an enormous threat. If this conflict had never started, it would have been fine. But since it had started, it couldn't end here. Even if he let the fatty go now, the way he saw it, the fatty would never let him go in the future. This was because he knew that fatty wasn't an ordinary person. This kind of monstrous genius wasn't inferior to him. On the path to the peak, he couldn't allow any flaws in his state of mind. This was a battle of face and luck. Because of this, after seeing Fatty's heaven-defying concealment technique, he had to use all means to force Fatty to show himself. Because he didn't want to be remembered by a monstrous genius. Boom. Just as Shi Chao was about to clash with Ao Guang, Ling Feng and Xuefian, the space between the two parties suddenly shook. Boundless killing aura bloomed, and a majestic and terrifying pressure erupted like a mountain and a sea. Chen Hao was forced to show himself. You really want to start a massacre? Chen Hao stared coldly at Shi Chao and said coldly, that depends on you. Shi Chao paused and waved his hand behind him. His gaze was similarly cold as he stared at Chen Hao. What do you mean? It's very simple. You die, they live. You escape, they die, but you might not be able to escape. Are you kidding? Chen Hao frowned slightly. Do I look like someone who jokes? Ao Guang, who had already arrived behind Chen Hao, pointed at Shi Chao and shouted angrily. Bullshit your mother. What right do you have to decide the life and death of Fatty Bro and us? Brother Fatty, don't waste your breath on them. Let's fight. Hiss. Wan Yixue silently arrived at Chen Hao's side, her fine black hair fluttering in the wind. The extremely powerful blue silk jade ripple technique had already been brewing in her body to the extreme. As long as Chen Hao gave the order, it would explode with a loud bang. Losers, a single strike from me is enough to destroy you all. Shi Chao glared at Ao Guang and Ling Feng. He then turned to Chen Hao and said, your aura is similar to Chen Ritian's. Why isn't he here? If he was here, perhaps you would have the qualifications to fight against our Tanglong Academy. When Shi Chao sensed Fatty's aura, he felt that Fatty's aura was familiar, but he had never seen it before. Now Fatty's killing intent was completely released, which made Shi Chao think of Chen Ritian, who he had fought before. Obviously, the news of Fatty's return before the ranking competition had not spread to Tanglong Academy. Otherwise, Shi Chao would not have said such words. And now, it's very easy for us to destroy you. You can try to escape with your concealment skills. They will be killed by us, and then you will be caught. Or you fight with me. Die, and I will let them go. Although Shi Chao felt that Fatty and Huahua Academy's gazes were a little strange, he did not think too much about it. You want me to die so badly? Of course. Do we have a grudge? Not before. Now, do you think I will allow a threatening opponent to continue living? I don't like being remembered by someone who is not inferior to me. What you said makes sense. Are you done? What, do you think I'm wrong? Or do you think I'm talking big? Your myriad Tao resonance state is gone, right? Killing you is like killing a chicken. Is that so? You all think so too? To everyone's surprise, Chen Hao looked at Tanglong Academy's disciple behind Shi Chao and asked, do you even need to say it? Fatty, you're dead. Just kill yourself so that you won't die in pain. Wan Yishui is your Dao companion, right? Don't worry, after you die, I can reluctantly take care of her for you. Ha ha ha. If you can't do it alone, we brothers will take care of her together. I guarantee that she will want to die, ha ha. Brother Xichao, since it has come to this, in my opinion, you don't have to be merciful. I think it's better to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Also, it's not easy to fight, let us brothers gain something. Shuefian is a good girl. If Brother Xichao can get her primordial yin, it might be of great use to you. Yes, a few of them are not bad. Hee, I'm getting excited. Among the Tanglong Academy's disciples, several male disciples with powerful auras laughed lewdly. Many of the male disciples were provoked by their lewd words, and their gazes toward the female disciples of the Dahua Academy became lewd. The Dahua Academy's disciples were all furious. However, none of them said anything despite Fatty's voice transmission, and they allowed the other party to tease and ridicule them. The smile on Fatty's face became more and more intense. The murderous aura on his body disappeared, and was replaced by a strange aura. His eyes were especially colorful, and he attracted the gazes of the Tanglong Academy's disciples. 19. Fatty uttered a baffling sentence. Xichao stared at the fatty's eyes and frowned slightly. He instinctively felt a trace of danger. Unfortunately, in a short moment, he was unable to see through Chenhao's Red Dust Heart Sutra, which had already returned to its original state. Remember to be a good person in your next life. Buzz. Hiss. Chi. Just when no one understood Chenhao's meaning, Wan Yishui's azure silk blue ripple technique suddenly bloomed, combining with the powerful emotional influence of Chenhao's Red Dust Heart Sutra. At the same time, the incomparably sharp sword light, 19 sword lights, suddenly appeared out of thin air in front of the 19 people, silent. Before the 19 people could react, their eyebrows were pierced by the incomparably sharp sword light. Boom. Rumble. Chenhao's body became one with the sword, and with boundless murderous intent, he violently rushed toward Xichao. Ah! Screams of horror rang out. Whether it was the Tanglong Academy's disciples or the Dahua Academy's disciples, they were all scared silly by Fatty's terrifying attack. Chapter 1386. Impossible. How did you do that? How is this possible? Ah. Xichao was even more terrified. No matter what, he never thought that Chenhao would be so terrifying. He had actually killed 19 people from the Tanglong Academy in one move right under his nose, including 2 experts from the Tanglong Academy, who were second only to him. How was this possible? Even he couldn't do that. What kind of ability was that sword light that appeared out of nowhere? Xichao discovered that the emotional power emitted from Chenhao's eyes was the secular Heart Sutra, but he didn't think that it would have much of an effect on the others. At the same time, he also sensed the aura of Wan Yishui's azure silk jade wave technique. He also didn't think that it would have much of an effect. The truly powerful thing was Chenhao's sword light that had appeared out of nowhere. Not to mention the fact that the 19 people were momentarily stunned. Even if they didn't appear, it would be difficult for them to escape this heaven-defying attack. He had concealed himself too well, and it was too sudden. Even if it was him, he would still be in a difficult situation. Boom. Boom. Unfortunately, Xichao didn't have time to be surprised. Even if he reacted and wanted to help, he couldn't because Chenhao, who had become one with his sword, was already in front of him. He could only meet him head-on. He furiously gathered his power and charged toward Chenhao. Heavens! Dead. Just one move, 19 people. Is he still human? How can he be so strong? The disciples of the Tanglong Academy retreated in horror, afraid that Chenhao would kill them in one move. Moreover, Xichao and Chenhao, who had started fighting again, were indeed not people they could approach. Just the energy shockwaves alone were enough to destroy them. At this time, they also understood what the fatty meant by 19 people. They were the disciples who had spoken to Wan Yishui and Shuefian, and supported the annihilation of the Dahua Academy. Chenhao's words of "be good in your next life" still rang in their ears. They didn't think much of it before, but now they felt a chill down their spines, especially when they thought of the fatty's smile that was getting more and more intense. To him, we're just ants. Fortunately, most of us aren't too evil. Otherwise, we might have ended up like those 19 people. The Tanglong Academy's disciples thought to themselves. They knew very well that Chen Hao could kill 19 of them without making a sound, and 2 of them were second only to Shi Chao among them. Then, killing them again would not be a problem. That sword light that appeared out of thin air was really too terrifying. In their opinion, it was definitely related to the fatty's concealment lost art. It was very likely to be the ultimate lost art in the world of assassins. Is this fatty's true strength? Brother Fatty is actually this strong. Amazing. Damn it, I'm temporarily. Cough cough. I'm afraid I'll have to be convinced in the future. Fat Bro is really too awesome. Xue Fian, Ao Guang Ling Feng, and the others were also shocked. Only Wan Yishui was relatively calm. This was because Chen Hao had done the same thing in the Emperor's Star Secret Realm. Furthermore, he had joined forces with her. The only difference was that this time, Chen Hao used Miao Xian's unique sword skill, which was the sword light that appeared out of thin air when Miao Xian used to control Wan Yishui. Boom 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 boom. The scene once again turned into a battle between Chen Hao and Shi Chao. However, Shi Chao, who was previously insufferably arrogant, was now completely suppressed by Chen Hao. Even if Shi Chao used his erratic movement lost its effect. It was not that Chen Hao was able to lock onto his aura, but that Chen Hao was like burying landmines. He had set up countless hidden sword lights in the space around them. Shi Chao could run into them at any time. If not for his extraordinary strength, he would have been finished. Aren't you very awesome? Is that all you've got? Fatty's mocking voice suddenly rang out. At this moment, Shi Chao, who was previously awesome and completely suppressed Chen Hao, was now in a difficult situation due to Fatty's unpredictable sword light. I didn't expect you to have such a powerful sword skill. Similarly, I didn't expect your myriad Dao resonance to last so long. However, at most, you force me to this point. When your myriad Dao resonance disappears, I'd like to see how you're going to fight me. Shi Chao said proudly. Suddenly, his expression changed and he said, however, I admit that I've underestimated your strength. Now, let's stop the battle and wait for the individual competition to decide who's the winner? Do you think I'll agree? Chen Hao smiled again and his attack did not weaken at all. If you're smart, you'll naturally agree. I, Shi Chao, am the reincarnation of the Celestial Emperor. Do you think you have the ability to kill me? When your myriad Dao resonance disappears, you'll be no match for me. Of course, if I want to kill you, I'm afraid I'll have to pay the price with them. That's not what I want. Is that so? What does it have to do with me whether you want it or not? I'll do whatever you say. Who do you think you are? When you were strong, you wanted to kill me and destroy Dehua. Now that I'm strong, you want to stop the battle? How can there be such a good thing in this world? Are you out of your mind or kicked by a donkey? I'll tell you clearly. Now I'm going to do what you wanted to do to me and Dehua. It's very fair. If you die, they live. If you escape, they die. Of course, you can't escape. So if you die, they scram. Ah! Chen Hao's sudden words caused the disciples of Tanglong Academy to widen their eyes in shock. They became nervous and could not help but take a step back. Well said. Brother Fatty, kill this bastard. Motherfucker, do you think we're stupid? Do you think you can do whatever you want? Ao Qian said. Why aren't you scramming? Do you want us to attack? Let's go. Qi. Ling Feng was even more direct. Scram immediately or die. Chi. In an instant, all 99 people from Dehua Academy moved. They soared into the sky with high battle intent, and charged toward Tanglong Academy. They have a few good women. We can enjoy them too. Ah, that's right. That's a good idea. It's a pity to scram. A disciple from Dehua Academy said. 19 people from Tanglong Academy were killed by Chen Hao in one move. Most of them were experts among them. Shi Chao was suppressed by Chen Hao. Dehua Academy had an obvious advantage. No, however, at this time Chen Hao suddenly said. Although he did not stop them from charging toward Tanglong Academy. When he heard someone say that, he disagreed. Brother Fatty, We're just giving them a taste of their own medicine. What the brothers said is right. Although I don't like it, if the brothers want to have fun, we'll let them have fun. Moreover, they can improve. Let them have fun. Ling Feng said. Chapter 1387. If someone punches you, you can punch back. If a dog bites you, you bite back? Just kill. We won't do despicable things. This is my principle. If you treat me as your brother, you'll listen. If you don't treat me as your brother, you can do whatever you want. I won't interfere. Moreover, I've already killed the person who wanted to do this to us. Chen Hao said as he fought. This was his bottom line. Even if this kind of thing was nothing in the cruel cultivation world, Chen Hao was extremely disdainful of this kind of behavior. What was the difference between that and a beast? Boom boom boom. Amidst the terrifying energy explosion, Ling Feng and the others were stunned by the fatty's words. They said awkwardly, "Fatty bro is right. Forget it then. Why aren't you scramming? Otherwise die." Chi. Chi chi chi. Ling Feng and the others were slightly embarrassed. They gathered their energy and continued to fly toward the Tanglong Academy disciples. Indeed, the person who wanted to do this to them had already been killed by Chen Hao. If they did the same to the remaining ones, what was the difference between them and those people? To put it bluntly, this was indeed a despicable method. No one is allowed to run. Kill them all. Don't worry, this damn fatty can't beat me. The final victory will belong to us. Kill. Although Shi Chao was at a disadvantage, he was still not flustered. Moreover, the greater the pressure, the stronger the aura he released. He seemed to be getting braver as he fought. Chen Hao couldn't help but admire him. The spirit of all things was indeed the strongest inheritor in the world. Yes. Kill. 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 What Chen Hao didn't expect was Shi Chao's powerful rallying power among the Tanglong Academy disciples. Originally, in Chen Hao's opinion, at this point, the Tanglong Academy's disciples would definitely be defeated and flee for their lives. However, with just a few words from Shi Chao, none of the remaining 80 people actually fled. Each and every one of them gathered their strength, their fighting spirit soaring. This wasn't what Chen Hao wanted. After all, once it was a chaotic battle, there would definitely be casualties. It wasn't something he could control. However, at this point he could only let it develop. Then kill. Be careful. Yishui, cooperate with Ling Feng, Ao Guang and Fei Yan. Kill. Chen Hao ordered. Understood. T. Without any hesitation, Wan Yishui pushed the green silk blue ripple technique to the extreme. At the same time he merged the power of his emotions. In the end, the war still broke out. Boom. Boom. A kill. In the blink of an eye, the situation was completely out of control. Countless divine abilities and ultimate techniques floated out. Terrifying energy wreaked havoc. Battle cries, screams, and energy explosions caused the sky to darken. Ao Qian's staff swept through the world with an incomparably domineering aura. Ling Feng's folding fan was like a sharp blade when opened and a staff when closed, killing without blinking. Xue Fian had even transformed into a humanoid weapon, incomparably ferocious. Wan Yishui had become their strongest support. Wherever they passed by, the enemies would be disrupted by Wan Yishui's powerful illusions, greatly reducing their combat strength. Chen Hao, who was originally a little worried, did not expect that the situation would be one-sided in just a moment. The cooperation of Ao Qian's group of 4 was simply unstoppable, crushing everything like a hot knife through butter. Even if Chen Hao made a move, it would not be much better either. Looks like I underestimated their combat strength. No, it's Sister Shui's role that's too strong, Chen Hao thought to himself. At this time, Shi Chao's face had turned ashen, and his anger soared to the sky. He was a little doubtful. Was this really the Dahua Academy that had been trampled by their Tanglong Academy for countless years? All of you must die. Roar. Seeing his people fall into a pool of blood one by one, Shi Chao finally went berserk. In an instant, as if he had fallen into a state of madness, his essence, vitality, physical strength, true yuan, and spiritual power directly gushed out like a volcanic eruption. At the same time, a rune full of endless divine aura appeared between his eyebrows, blooming with a bright divine golden light. The moment it appeared, the world lost its color. Even Chen Hao's mind went blank for a moment. He stared blankly at the golden, divine rune between Xichao's eyebrows. Godhood. Only a fully awakened spirit of all things would have a godhood. This was the best proof of being a spirit of all things, and also the strongest power of a spirit of all things. Without a doubt, this was Xichao's greatest reliance. Heavens! What's that? So terrifying. I actually don't dare to resist. I actually want to worship. Godhood, this is a godhood that only an immortal emperor can obtain. Only a fully awakened spirit of all things can use it. Thump, thump, thump. Cries of alarm came from the mouths of the two academy's disciples. Immediately, some of the weaker ones could no longer control themselves and prostrated themselves one after another. Even Aoqian, Lingfeng, Shuefian, and Wan Yishui were no exception. In just a moment, the entire battlefield was completely silent. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear and shock as they stared blankly at the godlike Xichao, kneeling on the ground. Only a fat figure was trembling violently, desperately resisting the urge to kneel. Die, all of you must die. Xichao's cold voice sounded. Damn, fatty, you can actually resist the pressure of my godhood? You're indeed very strong, and you even forced my godhood out and used its power. Do you know what this means? It means that you've destroyed my possibility of creating a new great Tao. Endless reincarnation for a stronger Tao. But I've already fully awakened, and now I've used the power of the godhood. You've destroyed my hope, and my endless years of hard work have all been destroyed in a single day. I'll completely refine you, obtain your godhood, and imprison you for eternity, unable to enter reincarnation, to resolve the hatred in my heart. Wang. A giant hand that covered the sky suddenly appeared. Although the power it contained did not increase by much, the Tao law it contained at this moment was terrifying to the extreme, and it was in a category that Chen Hao could not comprehend at all. It directly enveloped Chen Hao. Godhood. Once a spirit of all things was fully awakened, the godhood that once belonged to him would appear. However, although the godhood at this time had the aura of the celestial emperor realm, it had turned into the embryonic form of the godhood, and it could be molded. Once a cultivator took a step forward on a new great Tao that was most compatible with the spirit of all things, a part of the godhood would solidify, and when the great Tao was completed, the godhood would merge the two strongest Taos into one. At that time, it would definitely be much stronger than the Tao of the celestial emperor realm. However, if the power of the godhood was used before the new great Tao was formed, the embryonic form of the godhood would be fixed, and it would lose the possibility of being molded. How could Xichao not be angry? Moreover, in Xichao's opinion, the fatty must be the spirit of all things, or else he would not be able to resist the pressure of the godhood and not kneel on the ground. Another point was the speed at which the Daoist Academy advanced in the myriad Tao space, which was enough to prove this point. However, the fatty should be the spirit of all things that had not fully awakened. As long as he refined him, he would be able to obtain the godhood, and then he would be able to seal Chen Hao forever. Moreover, he would be able to comprehend powerful ultimate techniques from the godhood, which would more or less make up for it. Chapter 1388. Everyone stared at the scene in shock. Wan Yishui, Ao Qian, and the others all watched helplessly as Xichao's hand that covered the sky grabbed Chen Hao. They desperately wanted to get up and help, but no matter how hard they tried, it was to no avail. No one had expected the situation to turn around so quickly. No one had expected Xichao, the spirit of all creation, to be so powerful. Don't worry, I won't refine you so quickly. That's your woman, right? Wan Yishui, come here. With a burst of energy, Wan Yishui flew uncontrollably in front of Xichao, unable to resist, unable to speak, unable to control his body. Wan Yishui, who still had some consciousness, could only glare at Xichao with incomparable anger. You don't like dirty things, right? I didn't like it at first, but since you don't like it, I'll do it right in front of you. You dare? What do you want to do? Chen Hao, who was also resisting Xichao's god force, gathered all his strength and shouted. Just as he finished speaking, one of his knees suddenly fell. Just as he was about to kneel on one knee, Chen Hao once again used his strong willpower to forcibly control himself. No one knew that at this moment, Chen Hao's mind was filled with the Sanskrit Grand Tao, Heart Sutra, Diamond Sutra, Avatamsaka Sutra, and other profound sutras that Chen Hao knew but couldn't fully comprehend. His special ability, the Delusion Breaker Eye, was useless because this wasn't just illusion, but an incomparably powerful god force. The true pressure of the Grand Taoan realm. If he wanted to break through, he had to surpass his mental state. Haha, what are you doing? I have no interest in women who have lost their reason, but they might be interested. You go for me. Haha. Chi. No one expected Shi Chao to be so evil. Ling Feng and Ao Qian were pulled over. Haha. I want to know how you feel about your brother messing with your woman in front of you. Haha. Ao Qian and Ling Feng vomited blood. Their faces were filled with anger, fear, and humiliation. He had seen evil people before, but he had never seen such an evil and heartless person. However, no matter how they struggled, it was futile. Despair spread in the hearts of the two of them, and Wan Yishui. They knew that even if they were lucky enough to not die after this, they would not have the face to continue living. That sort of humiliation was not something that ordinary people could endure. How dare you? Chen Hao was infuriated, and he shouted once more with a grim voice. Humiliation. The kind of humiliation that he had never felt before, ruthlessly ravaged Chen Hao's soul. Chen Hao's eyes had turned scarlet, and a monstrous killing intent swirled in his eyes. Unfortunately, under the pressure of the Godhead, he couldn't even release his killing intent. At this moment, Chen Hao felt like he was a burning furnace, but he was sealed and completely insulated from the outside world. As the burning became more intense and longer, Chen Hao clearly felt that he was going to explode. However, not only did he not control himself, he burned even more crazily. Even if he had to self-destruct, even if he had to destroy everything here, he couldn't let his woman, his brothers, and himself suffer such humiliation. Ah! Why wouldn't I dare? Under the powerful pressure of my Godhead, you don't even have the chance to resist. What, you want to burn yourself and explode? Impossible. You underestimate the power of my Godhead too much. Come, let's begin. Chi. 3 mysterious runes suddenly shot out from Shi Chao's fingertips and entered Wan Yishui, Ao Guang, and Ling Feng's foreheads. Then, the three's movements were completely controlled. Rip. Ling Feng and Ao Qian tore their robes at the same time, leaving their upper bodies bare. Seeing that Wan Yishui was about to move, Chen Hao suddenly looked up at the sky and roared, "Explode for me!" Boom. Between his eyebrows, a 9-colored brilliance suddenly bloomed, and a strange rune suddenly appeared. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, terrifying air explosions appeared continuously, filling the sky and spreading in all directions. The cultivators who were kneeling on the ground could barely lift their heads to see what was happening, but at this moment, the pressure of the entire space suddenly increased by many times. One by one, they were stuck to the ground with a bang, unable to move at all. No one knew what had happened. They only knew that this terrifying change was caused by Fatty's heart-wrenching roar. Puff! It was also at this moment that Shi Chao's face suddenly changed. His eyes were filled with endless horror as he stared fixedly at the space between Chen Hao's eyebrows. He spat out a mouthful of blood and wanted to say something. Unfortunately, before he could open his mouth, his body collapsed to the ground uncontrollably. He was no different from the others. Never entered the reincarnation cycle. Absorb. Chi. A cold voice filled with endless killing intent burst out from Chen Hao's mouth and clearly entered everyone's ears. Unfortunately, no one could raise their heads to see the scene in the void. They only heard Shi Chao's shrill and desperate cry. Then the terrifying pressure gradually disappeared, and one by one, they began to regain their freedom. Fatty. Wan Yishui threw herself directly into Chen Hao's arms. "It's okay, it's all over." Fatty comforted her. Brother Fatty, I'm sorry. We're useless and made you use your Godhead," Ling Feng said with a serious expression. Although he did not see Fatty's Godhead, he concluded that Fatty had used his Godhead, which was many times more powerful than Shi Chao's, to prevent this tragedy from happening. They also heard Shi Chao's words just now. Using the power of the Godhead meant that all his efforts would be in vain. At best, he could only restore the strength of the immortal Emperor realm. It was almost impossible for him to make any more progress. Godhead? What Godhead do I have? Don't talk nonsense, no one can do anything to such an inhumane guy. However, what surprised Ling Feng and the others was that the fatty actually said such a thing. Moreover, he didn't give Ling Feng and the others a chance to ask. He directly looked at the trembling disciples of the Tanglong Academy and said, "You all know what happened. As a brother academy, I don't want to be ruthless. However, if you dare to speak nonsense, I, Li Yuan, guarantee that none of you will live for long. You can go now." Thank you. It's our fault. The winner is king. We won't distort the truth. Goodbye. Let's go. Chi. The remaining disciples of Tanglong Academy quickly left with lingering fear. They knew that even if Fatty killed them, they could not resist. Moreover, no one could do anything to Fatty, just like how Shi Chao wanted to kill all the people of Huashan Academy. The so-called not to kill the innocent had no restrictions at all. However, Fatty had let them go. Chapter 1389. It wasn't that Chun Hao was merciful, but that there was no need to kill them all. After all, that decision was made by Shi Chao, and those who deserved to be killed had already been killed by Chun Hao. As for the rest, they were just following orders due to their different standpoints. Moreover, this was just a competition. If he really wanted to kill them all, Chun Hao wouldn't be able to do it. Brother Fatty, that guy, he's already dead. What's left is just a divine spark. Don't worry, Chun Hao said directly. Alright, continue to comprehend and try to break through this hurdle as soon as possible. Yes, Brother Fatty. Okay. Everyone replied excitedly, looking at Fatty in awe. Without a doubt, the terrifying strength that Fatty had displayed had completely shocked everyone. Shi Chao was the soul of all living things, but Fatty had actually killed him. Although Fatty didn't explain why he had released his aura at the last moment, and denied that it was a divine spark, they didn't think so. In their opinion, Fatty just didn't want to reveal too much and kept a low profile. It can't be right? How is this possible? My Tanglong Academy actually chose to avoid it? Ha ha ha. Li Wuxiang, don't be so smug. Ha ha ha. Do you really think that your Tanglong Academy is stronger than us? Now you see, ha ha ha. Outside the myriad Tao space, the dean of the Tanglong Academy, Li Wuxiang, couldn't believe his eyes. The light spot representing the Tanglong Academy actually retreated, obviously choosing to take a detour, while the light spot representing the Hua Academy didn't move at all. He couldn't believe such a scene. In his opinion, with Shi Chao leading Tanglong Academy, Shi Chao alone was enough to threaten the entire Hua Academy, but in the end, however, Cheng Wanxiang, the dean of Hua Academy, was excited. He had to admit that before he was indeed very depressed. Even though he knew that Chun Hao's strength was abnormal, he couldn't be sure that Chun Hao could lead Hua Academy to defeat Shi Chao and the others. After all, he had seen Shi Chao's strength too many times in the past 300 years. Even Chun Hao's clone back then was far from being comparable. At this moment, seeing Tanglong Academy leave, Hua Academy naturally won. How could he not be excited? He was truly proud and elated. In their eyes, the difference in the space-time laws between the myriad Tao space and the outside world was only a matter of moments. Soon, the Tanglong Academy entered the new passage. Because they were already far ahead of most of the other academies, there were no competitors in the new passage. Therefore, from the outside, it didn't take long for Tanglong Academy, Daihua Academy, Zhulu Academy, Fluttering Snow Academy, Xiao Family, Jade Maiden Palace, and more than a dozen powerful forces to arrive at the 5162nd floor, and they were all blocked. This made the experts in the outside world conclude that they had encountered a barrier of laws that was difficult to comprehend in the myriad Tao's space. As time passed, many of the top academies caught up. Coincidentally, the light spot representing the top academy, the Thick Earth Academy, once again stepped into the channel where the Daoist Academy was located. This made Li Wuxiang, who was in a bad mood, suddenly excited. Ah, Chung Wanxiang, your luck is really bad. Earth Academy, huh? I suddenly understand why Shi Chao led our disciples around. It's not that they lost to you, but that they showed mercy when they saw your sister academy. Of course, the most important point is that the Thick Earth Academy is the closest to the Thick Earth Academy. It's a good thing to avoid them in advance. It'll save us some trouble. Shut your crow's beak. You lost, so why are you looking for excuses? Damn it, so unlucky. Chung Wanxiang said angrily, his old face twisted again. The Thick Earth Academy was a top academy, and there was no doubt about its strength. And he had to admit that what Li Wuxiang said was possible. Damn it, I hope the little fatty can handle it well. Chung Wanxiang said to himself. What about this time? Of course the Thick Earth Academy will leave. You believe in his strength that much? What I hear with my ears and what I see with my eyes might not be real. However, what I feel with my heart, what I see, and what I hear are the most real things. Fatty's strength, in my opinion, is not inferior to the top monsters of Zhulu. Moreover, his potential is even greater. In the grotto heaven, Ruolan stared at the light spots on the myriad Daros spatial display with a smile and said confidently, "You're incorrigible. Look at your intoxicated expression. You're like a cat in heat." You can think of it that way. I'm speechless. You're jealous, right? Ha. Bah, a damn fatty and a tiny Daoyuo Jingxian. Even if he's the spirit of all things, so what? I, Ruoxian, am nothing in his eyes. Didn't you see that painting? That's his true appearance. That's nothing more than your imagination through his eyes. I saw it with my heart. You don't understand. Moreover, you also heard that during the combat strength assessment, the appearance of the slaughter will that gave birth to spiritual intelligence was drawn by me. Before I drew it, I didn't know about it. This also means that what I saw through his eyes is real. So what if it's him? Is the appearance important? It's not important. You're the one who despises him for being a fatty, okay? Can't we still be sisters? Ruoxian's face darkened at Ruolan's words. She was speechless for a long time. She glared fiercely at Ruolan and said, I want to know what attracted you to him. Aura. What aura? An aura that makes me fall in love at first sight. Past life, present life, and future life, that's the aura of my 3 generations guardian. Pft. Crazy. Past life, you know? Future life, you're not dead yet. Ah. Earth Academy really left. Everything is as expected. Why are you so surprised, Xian Xian? Haha. Impossible, right? Haha. Amazing. You're too amazing. Little fatty, old man loves you to death. Ha ha ha. Li Wuxiang. What else do you have to say now? Ha ha ha. It seems to have gone to your academy's tunnel. Ha ha ha. Your proud disciple Shi Chao is going to die again, right? Ha ha ha. Fuck. Image, pay attention to your image. Ha ha ha. What's going on? Could it be that Li Yuan, who returned from the Emperor Star Secret Realm, has reached such a terrifying level? Although Li Wuxiang didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that the team from Dahua Academy was extremely powerful. Otherwise, the Top Earth Academy had no reason to avoid them. Not long after, as Chung Wanxiang said, Tanglong Academy left the tunnel again. Obviously, they were chased away by Earth Academy. Chapter 1390. At this moment, all the disciples in the Grotto Heavens, as well as the cultivators in the Divine Realm, were discussing Taoist College in shock. Even some of the top colleges were paying attention to Taoist College. Taoist College was only a first-rate college, yet they were able to make the top colleges avoid them. What kind of concept was that? They were definitely one of the biggest dark horses in this year's ranking competition. However, Buzz. Ha ha ha, I've comprehended it. Let's go. Someone from Zhulu College was the first to break through the profound meaning barrier. Following that, Xiao Family, Snowfall College, Jade Lady Palace, and more than 10 other top forces also broke through one after another. Once again, they were like a hot knife through butter, advancing rapidly. Taoist College, which was originally in the lead, did not make any moves. Following that, the top 100 colleges all passed, as well as some other top forces. Even Tanglong College and Kongying's first-rate college passed, but Daoist College still did not make any moves. This made Li Wuxiang proud again. But Cheng Wanxiang was once again in a dilemma. How could this be? Cheng Wanxiang faintly felt that it should be because of Daoist College's comprehensive ability. They had coincidentally encountered a barrier that Fatty, Ling Feng, Ao Qian, and the others with the strongest comprehensive ability could not comprehend. The others' comprehensive ability was too weak, so they could not break through this barrier. However, Cheng Wanxiang could only feel anxious. However, not long after, Li Wuxiang, who was rejoicing in other people's misfortune, could not laugh anymore. This was because although Tanglong Academy had broken through the barrier, the speed at which they broke through the barrier had plummeted when compared to the other leading forces. They had completely lost the momentum they had before. After breaking through more than 10 barriers in a row, what made Li Wuxiang even more uneasy was that the number of barriers Shi Chao had comprehended had not changed at all. What was going on? Most of the previous barriers were comprehended by Shi Chao. Why could he not comprehend any of them now? This was simply impossible. Unless Shi Chao did not comprehend them, but how could he not comprehend them? A strong sense of uneasiness arose in Li Wuxiang's heart. I thought they were very powerful, but it seems that they are just SOSO. More than 400 colleges have already passed. I think they must be dragging us down. Definitely. It's more than 500 now. How disappointing. It's not challenging at all. Murong Qianhua and his two brothers, who had been in a depressed state, became excited and complacent at this time, and began to make sarcastic remarks. Si Xian was very disdainful, but she didn't say anything. She was guessing what was going on with Chun Hao and the others. Unfortunately, she couldn't see anything other than the light that represented the University of Dahua. Broken? Fuck. Damn that fatty. But at this moment, Tang Hu, who was talking, suddenly frowned and scolded. It's broken. It's finally broken. Good. Chase after him. Once we get past this barrier, Fatty will definitely be able to catch up. Unlike Murong Qianhua and the other two, the other disciples in the grotto cheered excitedly, which made Tang Hu's words seem out of place. Right at this moment, Ruoxian suddenly grunted coldly and turned to look at Tang Hu. Tang Hu, are you a student of Dahua Academy? You're such a narrow-minded person who doesn't know the big picture. How dare you like Ruolan? Get lost as far as you can. And the two of you, shut your stinky mouths. If you don't speak, no one will know how shallow you are. No one had expected Ruoxian to fly into a rage. Murong Qianhua, Xian Yuanchen, and Tang Hu suddenly became extremely embarrassed, especially when they saw the disdainful eyes of the crowd looking at them. They didn't expect that they would get carried away and forget to consider what kind of situation they were in. Phew. Finally a breakthrough. Good job. Chun Hao looked at the disciples who had comprehended this barrier and praised them. Then his body suddenly became bigger. Chi, 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 chi. Beams of light flashed past, and everyone arrived on Chun Hao's shoulder. Let's go. We have been delayed for a long time and should be lagging behind a lot. Everyone, try your best to comprehend. Ishui, give up on comprehending and help everyone. Okay. Chi. Chun Hao directly activated the great teleportation technique to the extreme and flashed forward. After defeating the Tanglong Academy and forcing the Thick Earth Academy to leave, Chun Hao's terrifying strength had begun to show. As they continued to go deeper, they would inevitably face more battles. Fatty Li Yuan was destined to cause a sensation, and would inevitably make countless people tremble. Otherwise, 8 years would pass in the blink of an eye. Finally, under the gaze of thousands of people, the core of the myriad Dao space bloomed with incomparably bright light. Immediately, the 100-person team of the Xiao family stepped out of the myriad Dao space. The Xiao family is number 1. Congratulations, Star River King. Amazing, the Xiao family is number 1 6 out of 10 times. No wonder they are the number 1 family of the immortal emperor. Countless exclamations came, and all eyes were focused on the 100-person team of the Xiao family. Any one of them must be a top existence in a top academy. Even the powerful Xiao Mantian would find it difficult to enter the top 30 in this team. Ha ha ha. Thank you, but this is only the zenith heaven realm. There are more. In the face of many congratulations, the Star River King stroked his beard and laughed. He said modestly, Zulu Academy and Jade Girl Palace will be there soon. Buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. As soon as the Celestial River King's words fell, coincidentally, the myriad Dao space once again bloomed with a bright light. Immediately, the disciples of the number 1 academy, Zulu Academy, stepped out of the myriad Dao space. An extraordinarily handsome figure that was radiating with boundless brilliance attracted everyone's attention. It was as if a god had descended from the heavens. Chen Tianhe. Countless female disciples were mesmerized. But at this moment in the cave residence of the Taoist Academy, everyone's eyes widened. They could not believe what they were seeing. Isn't that the appearance of Fatty's massacre will? Isn't that the handsome guy that Teacher Rulin drew? At this moment, he actually appeared in front of everyone. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Yes, could it be that he is Fatty's doppelganger like Chen Ritian? Nonsense. How can a doppelganger be stronger than the original body? I think it should be a coincidence. This is the commander of Zulu Academy's Daoyuo Golden Wonderland. He's too strong. I didn't expect such a handsome person to exist. The people of the Taoist Academy discussed and were extremely surprised. Only Si Xian frowned slightly. She stared at the arrogant figure, deep in thought. She naturally knew that it was Chen Hao's second life. That extremely powerful aura made her worry for Chen Hao. Chen Nan, Pan Long, and the others who also knew what was going on were also slightly surprised. Chapter 1391. Strange. Ruolan's gaze was also fixed on Chen Tianhe's departing figure, a little puzzled. How could it be so similar? Could it be related to little Fatty? Is it his doppelganger? It's not impossible. His strength lies in the power of faith, a little weak. Ruolan's sharp eyes and perception made her suspicious, but she was not sure. After that, teams stepped out every once in a while. The Jade Maiden Palace was expected to be third, the Snowflake Academy was fourth, and then the veteran top academies. When the 16th bright light burst out from the core of the myriad Dao space, the name Dahua Li Yuan resounded throughout the world, appearing in the discussions of every grotto heaven. Even the live broadcast screen in the celestial realm gave Chen Hao a close-up of Dahua Li Yuan, because the first-rate academy led by him had achieved 16th place in the team score. Because his personal comprehension of the barrier profound had broken the previous record, and he was ranked first in this year's competition, far ahead. Therefore, when he led the people of Dahua Li Yuan out of the core of the myriad Dao space and rushed into the sky from the middle of the arena, everyone's eyes and communication treasures connected to the celestial realm were all locked on him. It was a chubby figure with a harmless smile on his face. There wasn't even the slightest trace of arrogance of a monstrous genius on his body. However, at this moment, his pitch-black eyes were blooming with a deep and distant radiance that was as resplendent as the stars. The corners of his mouth slightly curled up, and because of his abnormal and heaven-defying performance, he was bestowed with a mysterious and charming halo. Dahua Li Yuan. Li Yuan. He is Li Yuan. His personal comprehension of 8,462 levels so strong. So it's like this? He doesn't seem to be as handsome as me. But he is really strong, more than twice the previous record, too abnormal. Yes, but I think he is more charming than you, so cute. Tianxi. Haha. Indeed, this is Tianxi, with his eyes, it can't be wrong. Yes, as I said, that should be Tianxi's second life. This is our son. Tianxi. How in the celestial realm, Chen Wuliang, Xuemei, and Han Mei stared at the fatty on the screen with excitement. Tears of excitement appeared in Xuemei's eyes. Although it wasn't Chen Hao's appearance, how could they not recognize the completely simulated aura and those special eyes? Brother. It's my brother. Brother is actually back? They were already in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. When Chen Nan, who was watching at the scene, saw Chen Hao's fat appearance and sensed Chen Hao's aura, he was so excited that his entire body trembled. Men don't cry easily, but every time he saw his brother, Chen Nan couldn't control himself. They were sparkling with excitement. Boss. It's Boss. Ha ha ha, boss is back. Itoda, Panlong, Du Jing, Lanfeng, Li Yang, Fan Dongxing and the others were also extremely excited. They hugged each other tightly and beat each other. Big brother. Brother Hao. Chun Ling and Fan Donglu both stared at the fat figure and murmured. Although they knew that their voices couldn't penetrate the grotto heaven and be heard by Chen Hao, they were still very excited to see the figure that changed their lives after so many years, even if it was disguised as a fat man. It wasn't love, but it was beyond love. They couldn't describe the feelings in their hearts. Now they had accepted the reality and were really with their respective Taoist partners. They didn't have any thoughts about Chen Hao beyond the relationship between brother and sister, and it was impossible for them to secretly have a relationship with Chen Hao. Even if they didn't have such thoughts deep in their hearts, Chen Hao's position in their hearts was higher than their respective Taoist partners. This was a fact. They couldn't change it themselves, and they couldn't understand it. They clearly felt that they could give up everything for Chen Hao, even if it was their lives. They could do everything for Chen Hao. Only Chen Hao was willing. Familial love? Boundless love? They didn't know, and no one knew. The fatty's appearance did not affect the crowd at all, because the aura that the fatty released at this moment was the aura of his original body, when he left the ancient chaos great thousand world. Moreover, Xixian had shown them the image of fatty Chen Hao. However, Chen Hao simulated the aura he had when he left the primordial chaos. He wanted to show it to his parents and Master Han Mei, who might be watching the competition. Unfortunately, after reincarnating, the women who were like Chen Hao in the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland were still immersed in the space of the myriad Daos and couldn't step out. Naturally, they couldn't see Chen Hao. First place, and far ahead of second place. Second place is still Chen Ritian, second anima. True self, your comprehension is really strong. But I won't be any worse than you. Little Seven, you still don't want to admit defeat? Brother Hao is much stronger than you think. After all, he deliberately created you. What do you have to compete with him? Even second anima Chen Ritian's aura is stronger than yours, let alone Brother Hao. In the heavenly paradise of one of the top academies, a man and a woman were communicating via voice transmission. If Chen Shui and the others were here, they would definitely recognize the two of them. They were Chen Qi, also known as Chen Seventh, Chen Hao's seventh anima, and Lu Hui, the spiritual of all living things nurse. Because Chen Qi hadn't participated in the group competition, he had escaped second anima Chen Tianhe's murderous hands. If he hadn't, he probably wouldn't have survived. None of your business. I really don't know. Why don't you follow them? You're really annoying, you know? Oh really? Do you think I won't squash you to death right now? Great aunt, don't mess around, okay? I admit that you raised me up with a lot of shit and piss, but I'm your beloved, okay? Even though I'm in the seventh anima, he gave me complete freedom of thought. But now, I'm seriously begging you. Don't try to persuade me or destroy my morale. No matter what, I'm going to compete with him and see who's stronger. Fine. If you don't listen, then don't blame me for not warning you when you die in an embarrassing way. Actually, just be a good girl and practice cultivation. Gradually get stronger, then fuse with him. Wouldn't that be great? He's you and you're him. Why do you have to differentiate? You don't understand. How could I not understand? Well, you've decided to be my beloved beloved. Do you agree? You're just talking. In your hearts, you don't see me as him. How could I be him? I'm me. Therefore this time, I'm going to fight him to the death. If we run into each other in the competition, then so be it. If we don't, then I'll take the initiative to challenge him. Fine. Do as you wish. Chapter 1392. Lu Hui had left alone to find the seventh life. Chen Shui and the rest did not have much affection for Chen Qi, but Lu Hui was different. Chen Qi could be said to have been brought up by her. Even if she could not treat him as Chen Hao, she still had a strong sense of kinship with him. She did not want Chen Qi to leave alone and sad. What she wanted to see most was for Chen Qi to grow up normally and merge with Chen Hao smoothly. But now it was obviously impossible. He could not refute Chen Qi's words. Boss is as powerful as ever. No matter where he goes, he will definitely be the center of attention. Even in the great world of CND, it's no exception. In front of Boss, we are destined to be dim and dull. However, once we leave Boss's range, we will become even brighter, hee. Lan Guang stared at Chen Hao, who had stepped into the grotto heaven of Dahua University, and said faintly, Haha, of course. How can our boss be simple? But hee, it seems that we have a chance to trample on Boss. Senior brother is now only Daoyuo Jingxian. Pan Long rubbed his palms together. Go ahead if you have the guts, but don't drag me into it. Du Jing curled his lips. Pan Long, I can tell you clearly that you are purely looking for a beating. Don't you know how powerful Master is? In front of Master, never consider the advantage of a realm. Just ignore it. It was like this in the past, but now it's me. I dare say that even the top geniuses in the Grandma's supremacy realm can't do anything to Master. You have seen how powerful Master's second life, Chen Tianhe, is. That aura is very terrifying. Do you think I don't know? My bones are itching, okay? I just want to be trampled by senior brother. Fuck, you are so cheap. Just pretend we didn't say anything. Get ready, it will be our turn soon. Little fatty, good job. Ha ha ha. 16th place. This is a ranking that Dahua University has never achieved before. Cheng Wanxiang retreated into the grotto heaven and praised excitedly. Is that so? Dean, don't forget the reward you promised. This is just a team competition, there is still a person. Don't worry. If Grandma's Supremacy Realm can also achieve a breakthrough in the team competition, our University of Dahua might be able to step into the ranks of the top academies in one fell swoop. If that's the case, I will definitely reward all of you. Ha ha ha. Little fatty, you're amazing. Sister Ruolin, you flatter me. You guys actually didn't suffer any casualties. Ruoxian said in shock. That's right. Ha ha ha. That's because Fat Bro is too awesome, someone said. At this time, Xixian also came to the fatty's side and naturally held his arm. Fatty, tell me more about the situation inside. What's the deal with Tanglong Academy and Hutu Academy in the beginning, and the top forces we encountered later? Cheng Wanxiang asked impatiently after a brief moment of excitement. At this moment, everyone quieted down. Everyone's gaze turned to Fatty. I killed Shi Chao. Chen Hao's expression did not change in the slightest as he calmly said. However, what he said made Cheng Wanxiang, Ruolan, Ruoxian, and many of the academy's teachers widen their eyes in shock and gasp. Fatty, you. What did you say? You killed Shi Chao? Tanglong Academy Shi Chao? Yes. He's the fully awakened wisp of all things you. Cheng Wanxiang wanted to say how could he have killed him, but he stopped halfway. This was because he knew that Fatty had no reason to lie. Moreover, judging from the other's expressions, it was obviously the truth. He didn't use the power of the divine spark? Did you use it too? Cheng Wanxiang instantly thought of the key point. He used it. As for me, I'm not very sure either. In short, he couldn't do anything to me. Fatty said vaguely. He did not want to deny that he was not the wisp of all things. Although he did not know whether he was or not, at least he could hide the heaven-defying celestial tool in his mind. He had broken through the pressure of Shi Chao's divine spark by relying on his own power to activate the aura of the heaven-defying celestial tool in his mind. At that time, all Old God did was remove the aura that the celestial tool was concealing and establish a connection with Chen Hao. Only Chen Hao, the master, could activate the aura of the celestial tool, and Chen Hao had done it. It was obviously not a divine spark. Otherwise he, who had not awakened any inherited memories, could not activate it at all. As for Thick Earth Academy, they are no match for us at all. There's nothing to say. As for the rest, Chen Hao changed the topic. Wait, Fatty, where's Shi Chao's divine spark? Here. Chen Hao pointed at his head and said. He wanted to refine me so that I would never enter the cycle of reincarnation. Naturally, I had to do the same. Cough cough this. If the Dean of Tanglong Academy comes to ask for it, do you plan to return it? No, it's my spoils of war, and it's helpful to my cultivation. Most importantly, I'm just giving him a taste of his own medicine. I'm not a saint, Fatty said without hesitation. Okay, I understand what you mean. Tell me the details and I'll deal with Li Wuxiang. You guys give me a memory each, Cheng Wanxiang said to the disciples with Chen Hao. Yes. Qi. Light of memories floated in front of Cheng Wanxiang, and Cheng Wanxiang put them away without asking any more questions. After instructing the disciples of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm to prepare for his entrance, he stepped out of the Grotto Heaven and arrived at the Grotto Heaven's entrance, ready to deal with Li Wuxiang. Li Wuxiang, who was also at the entrance of the Grotto Heaven, was also quite nervous at this moment. He was faintly uneasy in the depths of his heart. Up until now, their Tanglong Academy had also reached the final stage. They had created a strong advantage at the beginning, and they still had a high chance of entering the top 100. That meant that they had surpassed the other top academies. If it wasn't for the fact that his brother's school, the Daihua School, was ahead of him, this result would definitely make him excited. But now he couldn't bring himself to be excited, especially after encountering the Daihua School. The barrier that Shi Chao first comprehended had never changed, which made him extremely anxious. Li Wuxiang, you said before that since we've met, even if we're from the same school, casualties are inevitable. No one can blame anyone, right? Humph, don't be cocky in front of me. Didn't you win? It's just the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland. There's still the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, and the individual competition. Don't worry, I won't say anything no matter how many people die. That's good. Cheng Wanxiang, since you know the situation, why don't you tell me? When your people come out, you'll naturally know. Just don't fly into a rage when the time comes, Cheng Wanxiang said. His heart was reminded by Li Wuxiang's words, and he was faintly worried about the upcoming competition in the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. Chapter 1393. Cheng Wanxiang was sure that, given Li Wuxiang's personality, once he found out that Shi Chao's disciples had been killed by Fatty and the others, he'd be furious. Moreover, he'd definitely ask the disciples of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm to get back at them. Thinking of this, Cheng Wanxiang returned to the Grotto Heaven and instructed Morong Qianhua, Xixian, and the others. 23rd place, Parkway Academy. Buzz. Not long after, the core of the arena once again rose with a dazzling light. At this moment, Chen Hao's eyes suddenly lit up, and his expression revealed uncontrollable excitement. Damn, Parkway Academy has so many beauties? No way, they're so beautiful. Fuck beauties 1 2 3. Fuck, I'm dazzled. Could it be that the disciples of the Jade Maiden Palace have joined Parkway Academy? When the disciples of Parkway Academy stepped out of the Myriad Dao spatial core and appeared in front of the cultivators for the first time, all the disciples in the Grotto Heavens and cultivators in the Immortal World space who were watching the competition widened their eyes in shock. It wasn't that Parkway Academy's disciples were too strong. After all, they were only 23rd, and there weren't any outstanding disciples. However, the shock they caused was greater than any of the other academies and factions. The reason was that there were more than 20 beauties in a team of less than 100 people. This ratio was a little too exaggerated. After all, in every academy's top 100, the number of male disciples was already an absolute advantage. Having a dozen or so women was already pretty good. But Parkway Academy actually had nearly 40 women. Even more terrifying was that there were nearly 20 stunning beauties among the 10 or so. This made the male disciples of the other academies envious. Countless praises drifted out. Beauties, super beauties. Fuck Fatty bro, the contract is up. We'll choose Parkway Academy for the last time, Ling Feng said. That's right. Fatty bro, for the happiness of our brothers. You have no reason to object, right? Ao Qian said. A bunch of hooligans. Shuefian and Wan Yishui said disdainfully when they saw Ao Qian, Ling Feng, and especially Fatty, who was even more excited than the other two. Actually, the most important thing was that he despised the Fatty. He clearly had two Daoist companions by his side, yet he dared to act so excited. Wasn't it just beauties? However, to Wan Yishui and Shuefian's surprise, Xixian was also staring at the Parkway Academy's beauties with sparkling eyes. She excitedly gripped the fatty's hand tightly. Harder, harder, harder. What the hell was going on? Wan Yishui and Shuefian were confused. Not a single one is missing. Very good, very good. Long time no see. Each of you has become even more alluring, hee. A smile appeared on the fatty's excited face, and his eyes became extremely intoxicating. This scene made Wan Yishui and Shuefian even more confused. What kind of look was that? Words couldn't describe it, but she had a feeling that being stared at like this was definitely a kind of happiness for a woman. In short, it had nothing to do with sex. Most of them are your sisters-in-law, except for a few. Don't even think about it. What Ao Qian Lingfeng, Wan Yishui, and Shuefian didn't expect was Chen Hao's reply. No way, right? Brother Fatty, you're too domineering. You eat the meat, and we brothers drink the soup, okay? Furthermore, Dao companions, even if we're brothers, we should compete fairly. That's right, Brother Fatty. Alright, they all followed me to the great world of CND. It's not that I want to snatch them from you, but that you don't even have the chance to snatch them. They're already my Dao companions, the fatty said proudly. If you don't believe me, ask Xi Xian. This time, it was Ao Guang and Ling Feng's turn to be dumbfounded. When Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, and the others returned to the Parkway Academy's Grotto Heaven, they received news that Chen Hao had already returned from the Emperor's Star Mystic Realm. Furthermore, they saw the image of the fatty stepping out of the myriad Dao space, as well as his name on the leaderboard. The girls were naturally excited, and their hearts were filled with pride. They looked forward to the end of the ranking competition. As expected, the Tanglong Academy won the 94th place with their huge advantage at the beginning. However, the moment the Tanglong Academy's disciples stepped out of the myriad Dao's space, Li Wuxiang fell to the ground with a plop, his face pale. He was faintly worried that something impossible would happen, but it actually happened. Shi Chao wasn't here. After Li Wuxiang understood what had happened from the disciples who came out, his expression became even more ugly. He rushed to Cheng Wanxiang in anger, wanting to take back Shi Chao's godhead. Unfortunately, Cheng Wanxiang rejected him without hesitation, blocking him outside the door of the Dahua Academy's Grotto Heaven. Li Wuxiang, who was angry out of humiliation, said, "Just you wait," and left in a huff, returning to the Tanglong Academy's Grotto Heaven. Under the powerful space-time laws, the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland's team competition ended in a short time. It was the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm's team competition. It was also the Myriad Dao's space, but the difference was that the laws were condensed for the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm's cultivators. You must be careful. Ding Ling is one of Li Wuxiang's proudest disciples. You already know how powerful she is. If you encounter her, don't try to be brave, understand? Don't worry, Dean. 300 years ago, we were not as good as her. Now, it's not certain who will win. We will definitely get a good result, Morong Qianhua said confidently. Also, I don't care what grudges you have with Fatty and Chen Si. After you enter, you must put the academy first. Don't bully Chen Si in any way. Otherwise, the old man will not let anyone go. Understand? Understood. Morong Qianhua's expression was slightly ugly. Cheng Wanxiang's words were undoubtedly a public warning. Chen Si, you have an S-grade talent. The old man has given you special privileges. When necessary, you can disobey the commander's orders. At any time, you must protect your life. Yes, Dean. Chen Si was slightly stunned, but she immediately said gratefully. Chen Hao was also slightly surprised. He did not expect Cheng Wanxiang to take such care of her. This relieved Chen Hao a lot. Otherwise, Chen Hao was a little worried that Morong Qianhua and the other two would deliberately target Xi Xian. After all, Morong Qianhua was a commander. If he deliberately made things difficult for her, it would be very troublesome. Especially when she encountered an opponent, she might even become cannon fodder. But now, the special privileges bestowed by Cheng Wanxiang eliminated this possibility. Not long after, the host's loud voice sounded. The Grand Mist Supremacy Realm's myriad Dao space condensed in the hands of 10,000 true immortal kings. The competition officially began. Chi. One by one, the grotto heavens connected to the core arena. the participants of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm turned into streams of light and directly disappeared into the myriad Dao space. Charge! Chi Chi Chi! Among the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm disciples of Parkway Academy, Chun Nan took the lead. He knew that when they stepped out of the myriad Dao space, his brother would definitely see them. Therefore, he had to do his best, for no other reason than to let his brother see him at his strongest. Chapter 1394. The team competition of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm had officially begun. Countless cultivators were paying attention to the Dark Horse Academies led by the University of Dahua. If these academies could maintain their Dark Horse status in the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, then they would definitely be the true Dark Horse. After all, the team competition accounted for the greatest proportion of the Academy's rankings. Although the individual ranking competition had a certain impact on the Academy's rankings, for a first-rate academy, it would only have an effect if they entered the top 10,000. Otherwise, the impact would be minimal, and it would be difficult to change the Academy's ranking. However, the top 1,000 was very important for a first-rate academy that had hopes of being promoted to a top-tier academy. This was because having a top 1,000 expert was a necessary condition for a first-rate academy to be promoted to a top-tier academy. Whether it was the Daluo Golden Wonderland or the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, it was possible. This meant that in the team competition, after excluding the major forces like the Xiao family that did not participate in the competition, to enter the top 100 of all academies, one disciple must enter the top 1,000 in the individual competition. Otherwise, it would still be impossible to become a top-tier academy. This was an extremely honorable thing for any genius disciple. Moreover, it was indeed difficult to enter the top 1,000. After all, the individual competition was not like the team competition, where only academies and major forces could participate. The individual competition was for any cultivator in the great world of Xiandi, the Daluo Golden Wonderland, and the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. Countless disciples of reclusive experts could appear. Many times, a top-tier academy might not necessarily have a single cultivator who could enter the top 1,000. This was also why Chun Wanxiang still had no confidence in Chun Hao's ability to enter the top 1,000, even though he already knew a lot about Fatty. Quick! Everyone enter my mind's great world. We can't waste any time. Hurry! Yes! Chi! Chi Chi Chi! Murong Qianhua's body was surrounded by dazzling starlight. After stepping into the great world, he directly gave the order. In an instant, streams of light flashed past, and most of the cultivators directly entered Murong Qianhua's glabella. This was the strength of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm cultivators. Everyone had a great world in their mind, which was something that the Daluo Golden Wonderland cultivators could not compare to. However, Xixian frowned slightly. Cici, let's go in. Don't worry, I won't do anything you don't want me to do, Murong Qianhua said as he gazed at Xixian with eager eyes. Sorry, I'd better go by myself. It won't be much slower. I'll catch up. Chi. After a moment of hesitation, Xixian chose to refuse. Although she knew that Murong Qianhua would not do anything to her, and would not dare to do anything to her, Xixian did not want to give him too much contact. Stepping into Murong Qianhua's mind meant that her every move would be watched by him. She didn't want to be watched by Murong Qianhua. Murong Qianhua frowned slightly and shook his head as he looked at Xixian's rapidly advancing figure. Soon after, the starlight shone brightly and his figure also moved forward quickly. However, to his slight surprise, although his speed was faster than Xixian's, it was only a little faster. When he reached the first barrier, he had only opened up a few breaths of flying distance. This made him shocked by Xixian's terrifying progress in the past 300 years. At the same time, he was even more regretful that he could not capture Xixian's heart. No, I can't lose confidence. Before she starts dual cultivation with him, I still have a chance. As for him, unless he is still so abnormal after stepping into the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, I may not necessarily be worse than him. I can't lose. This time, I want to let everyone know that there are also geniuses like me, Murong Qianhua. Chi. Everyone, start comprehending with all your strength. Our goal is to enter the top 100. Buzz. The moment Morong Qianhua released all the cultivators, he directly entered the state of comprehension. Break. Qi. In less than 2 hours, Morong Qianhua, who was fully focused on comprehending, was the first to let out a slightly excited sound. Brother Morong is amazing. Big brother is amazing. Follow me. Amidst many praises, Morong Qianhua sent out waves of energy to wrap everyone, including Si Xian, and directly stepped through the first barrier. Good. At this time, Cheng Wanxiang and the teachers and disciples of the College of Dahua also praised. Morong Qianhua's name appeared on the screen. Although he was not the first, he was in the top 100. This was indeed a very good start. Morong Qianhua is indeed the captain of the Starlight Squad. He is indeed amazing. Of course, can our captain be bad? He barely entered the top 100, and it's only the first level. It's just the beginning. It's nothing. Let's talk about it if he can have the last laugh. TSK, you are just in the Daoyuo realm. If you can still be so awesome after stepping into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, then you can say those sarcastic remarks. The disciples in the grotto heaven of the College of Dahua were buzzing with discussion. The factions were obvious. Morong Qianhua still had a lot of prestige due to the glory of the Starlight Squad. He still had many supporters among the cultivators in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. However, as time passed, some of the cultivators who praised Morong Qianhua were speechless. Ao Qian Lingfeng, Xuefian, Wan Yixue, Cheng Wanxiang, and even Chen Hao himself were slightly surprised. Even he did not expect Si Xian's performance to be so much better than expected. Morong Qianhua was only in the first 100 levels. In the first 100 levels, he had comprehended 44 levels. Tang Hu and Xian Yuanchen had comprehended about 20 levels each. Si Xian had comprehended 8 levels. Very few of the others were able to comprehend first. Morong Qianhua was indeed at the top. However, after the first 100 levels, Si Xian became the absolute main force. Out of every 10 levels, Si Xian would comprehend 50% of the levels. Moreover, with Si Xian's breakthrough, the speed of the College of Dahua's advancement was steadily maintained within the top 100. It even showed signs of sprinting into the top 50. Amazing, amazing. She is indeed Brother Fatty's woman. She is indeed our sister-in-law. Amazing. Brother Fatty, you haven't merged your yin and yang. That's really amazing. Ao Qian could not help but praise. Sister-in-law is really amazing. Ling Feng was also shocked. It could be said that they knew Si Xian very well. However, Si Xian's improvement made them feel like they did not know her at all. Even Chen Hao was the same. Just as Cheng Wanxiang had said to Chen Hao that Chen Hao would be surprised by Si Xian's improvement, Chen Hao was indeed surprised at this moment. Am I the only one who is the worst? When Wan Yixue heard everyone's praise for Si Xian, she bit her lips and blushed slightly. At this moment, she felt ashamed of her inferiority. Si Xian, Miao Xian, and the girls who had just appeared in the College of Parkway made her feel inferior. Unknowingly, feelings of inferiority spread in her heart. Chapter 1395. Sister Shui, you're not bad. If you weren't with me, you'd definitely be able to comprehend a lot. After all, you've listened to my general principles countless times. Moreover, we've been communicating for so many years. It's just that you're not as fast as me. Chen Hao's voice suddenly appeared in Wan Yixue's mind. You don't have to comfort me. Wan Yixue's face turned even redder. She didn't expect Chen Hao to be able to capture her emotions. What's there to comfort? I'm telling the truth. I think that Si Xian was able to comprehend so much because she was listening to my general principles. You listened even more, but because you were with me, you didn't show it. Think about it. Didn't you comprehend many of the barriers? It's just that before you could fully comprehend them, I was the first to complete them? That seems to be the case. Wan Yixue thought for a moment and was slightly surprised. Chen Nan. Parkway Academy. Suddenly, Chen Hao saw the name of the individual who had comprehended the barriers surging up the rankings. It's little Nan. Chen Hao was slightly excited. He already knew from Si Xian that Chun Nan and the others had already stepped into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. Now that he saw Chun Nan's name soaring up the rankings, he was naturally sure that it was his younger brother. Ling and Du Jing are up too. However, their individual rankings shouldn't be too high. Just as Chun Hao expected, although Chun Nan, Chun Ling, Du Jing, and the others had strong comprehension abilities, they were in a top academy where competition was fierce. Not only were there many geniuses, but they were also competing with each other. Naturally, their individual rankings would be slightly lower. However, Parkway Academy's speed of advancement was in the top 30, much faster than Dahua Academy. Chunsi, is he actually this strong? It's only been 300 years, and his improvement is so shocking. Moreover, he's already been chosen by King Ying. He's far ahead, far ahead. I, Li Wuxiang, racked my brains and thought that I'd completely surpassed Dahua Academy. Who would have thought? Li Wuxiang originally wanted his disciple, Ding Ling, to get back at them in the team competition of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. He wanted to use the lives of Murong Qianhua and the others in exchange for Shi Chao's godhead. This was because he believed that Ding Ling was strong enough to do it. Shi Chao was the strongest disciple he had ever met in his life. As long as he could obtain his godhead, he would be able to control Shi Chao's new reincarnation cycle and take him under his command. After a few thousand years, Shi Chao would become another monstrous genius. But now, the Tanglong Academy led by Ding Ling couldn't even catch up to the Dahua Academy. His wishful thinking had failed. Very good, very good. I'm starting to regret it. On the rostrum, the Celestial River King could not help but speak up when he saw Si Xian's name on the 23rd place of the individual comprehension barrier. Celestial River King must be joking. Her comprehension ability can only be regarded as good. Her performance is so outstanding because she is only in a first-class academy and has no competitors. Besides, even if she is really strong, in front of the countless genius disciples of your Shao clan, she is nothing. Look at how nervous you are. I was just joking with you. As long as you want it, I can give up anything. Don't tell me it's just a disciple. Princess Ying shook her head slightly and did not say anything else. She was indeed very nervous about Si Xian. Was it just because they looked alike? Of course not. Although the origin aura on Si Xian's body was very weak, so weak that she would not be able to detect it if she did not examine it carefully, it was definitely there. It was the aura of her bloodline origin. It was also because Si Xian had this aura that Princess Ying was so sensitive to the Celestial River King's words. She was worried that the powerful Celestial River King would be able to sense it. After all, the Celestial River King was also very familiar with her origin aura. And the only origin bloodline that Princess Ying had spread out was the product of her and Yi Lan, Yi Xian. Of course, Princess Ying could sense that Si Xian was not Yi Xian, but she was sure that it was related to Yi Xian. How could she not be nervous? The Celestial River King's Shao clan is really too strong. They are number one again. Yet they are number one in Daoyuo and Hongmeng. They are basically number one in the group competition. This is the foundation of the number one clan. When the Shao clan's team was the first to step out of the space of myriad Daros, countless praises could be heard. The Celestial River King's Shao clan was the number one clan in the great world of Xiandi. This made Chun Hao and the others understand how strong their foundation was. Princess Ying's Xiannu Palace was only number 7 this time. Zhilu Academy was number 2, and Snowdrift Academy was number 4. Without a doubt, Zhilu Academy still retained their title as the number 1 academy. As for the Floating Snow Academy, one of the top 10 academies, if nothing unexpected happened, it would be ranked second. Parkway Academy. Pust. When the light spot representing Parkway Academy coincided with the core of the space of myriad Daros, Chun Hao's eyes suddenly lit up. Then he saw several figures in the air. The 16th place was the same as Parkway Academy's Daoyuo Golden Wonderland team competition. Brother. Senior brother. Boss. Big brother. Many figures that Chun Hao was familiar with appeared. However, Chun Hao and the other cultivators did not expect that Chun Nan and Ao Tian's brothers and sisters, led by Chun Nan, would look in the direction of Daohua Academy and shout in unison. Unfortunately, Chen Hao could not step out of the grotto heaven. Although the other cultivators were curious, they did not know who Chen Nan and the others were shouting for. Brother Fatty, are they shouting for you? Ao Qian, Ling Feng and the others who already knew about the relationship between Parkway Academy and Chen Hao could vaguely guess and could not help but ask. That's my younger brother and many other brothers and sisters. Chen Hao had an excited expression as he stared at the figures who returned to their grotto heavens after just shouting. He spoke rather proudly. They are all very good. Ao Qian said. Indeed. However, when we step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, we will be even stronger. Ling Feng continued. That's true. No, as the Monkey King, I must work hard. No matter what, I must become the #1 general under Brother Fatty. With me around, do you think you can? Piece of cake. I just don't want to give up on certain things. Otherwise, the current me. Forget it, there's no point in saying more. Let's wait and see. Ao Qian said confidently. Che. Then let's wait and see. Ling Feng, who was already convinced by Fatty, would not let Ao Guang beat him. Fatty shrugged speechlessly and said, after this ranking competition, I should also step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. Brother Fatty, you can't, right? You haven't reached the peak of the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland. If you step into the Hongmeng domain too early, it will be disadvantageous for your Yin spirit. Otherwise, I would have gone long ago. Chapter 1396. That's right. It's best to enter when you've all reached the Great Perfection realm. The best way is to adjust the cultivation realms of the Immortal realm and the great world of CND to the same level. You may not feel it now, but the more you go, the more obvious it will be. This is something that countless seniors have proven. Oh, there's such a saying? Yes, Brother Fatty. This really can't be rushed. Then we'll talk about it when the time comes. Chen Hao frowned slightly. He felt that he had been stuck in the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland for a long time, especially after experiencing the nirvana of his true self. At this moment, when he saw that his younger brother Chen Nan, Coiling Dragon, and the others had taken the lead to step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, Chen Hao was a little impatient. Ha ha. Not bad, ha ha ha. Sword King Chen Taishu stroked his beard and laughed, his eyes showing a rare excitement. This made Miao Xian and Qing Yang, who were in the Zhulu Academy's grotto heaven, very surprised. It seemed that after seeing Fatty, their master's spirit and mood improved a lot. This was a situation that they had never seen before. Miao Xian didn't know that Fatty had become close to his master. Haha. They're all here. Nan and the others even stepped into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm ahead of time. And their strength is very good, haha. In the Immortal realm, Chen Wuliang burst out laughing almost the same as Sword King Chen Taishu. It seems that they really didn't come to the great world of CND together, otherwise, Nan and the others wouldn't be so excited. Shuemei said. Seeing them, I really feel that we're old. Han Mei said. How can that be? I'm still very young. As a father, I can't let my son surpass me. Surpass me, but not too fast, how shameful would that be? Work hard, we must work hard. Chen Wuliang, Shuemei, and Han Mei became even more gratified and excited after seeing Chen Nan and the others. I've decided, it's time to leave Dunjia Academy. Don't be surprised. With my current realm and strength, entering a first-rate academy isn't a problem at all. It's even possible for me to enter a top-notch academy. You mean to look for Hauer? No, we'll affect them. Just tell them not to worry about us. What I mean is to choose another powerful force. It's better for our cultivation, Chen Wuliang said. All right then, Chi. He's out. Ha ha ha. Cheng Wanxiang said excitedly. Because of Xi Xian's explosive performance, the Grand Mist Supremacy realm of the University of Dahua had once again exceeded Cheng Wanxiang's expectations. They had actually obtained 67th place, surpassing the results of more than 30 top academies. This was simply unimaginable before the start of the competition. Even if it can't become a top-notch academy, it can definitely become a top-notch first-rate academy. Ha 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 ha. Congratulations, Brother Chung. Congratulations, I really didn't expect your University of Dahua to be so strong. You're really lucky. As long as one of the top 1,000 appears in the individual ranking competition, you'll be able to step into a top-notch academy. You're really amazing. It's nothing, it's just luck. Our foundation is still lacking. We just happen to be a bit stronger this time. It's hard to say what will happen in the individual competition. Cheng Wanxiang appeared modest on the surface, but his expression revealed unconcealable excitement as he responded to the congratulatory words coming from around him. Next to him, Li Wuxiang, who was at the entrance of the grotto heaven, had an ashen expression as he stared fiercely at the high-spirited Cheng Wanxiang. Although the Tanglong Academy led by Ding Ling was also close to the core, and might be able to enter the top 100, and combined with the results of the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland, whether it was the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland or the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, as long as one of the top 1,000 appeared in the individual competition, they might be promoted to a top-notch academy. However, he wasn't happy at all. Top 1,000. As long as one of the top 1,000, our University of Dahua will be a top-notch academy. Haha. Top 1,000. This fat brother has hope. What do you mean by hope? Let's not talk about the others, but we've all seen this fat brother's terrifying strength with our own eyes. If he doesn't have hope of entering the top 1,000, I'll twist my head off and let you smash it like a watermelon. Of this we can't be too sure. After all, the world is coming, and countless spirits of all things may appear in the individual competition. Moreover, at least half of the cultivators in the top 1,000 didn't belong to any major forces, but were disciples of some hidden masters. Yeah, before the competition starts, it's hard to say anything. It's better to be cautious. However, it's true that this fat brother has a high chance. Captain Morong also has a high chance. Yeah, that's true. As long as one of us enters the top 1,000, we'll all be treated much better. Let's pray. Is it that difficult to enter the top 1,000? Everyone's discussion made the fat man slightly puzzled. In his opinion, entering the top 1,000 was not a problem at all. It could be described as catching a chicken in the crotch of one's pants. It was something that was in the bag. His goal was to enter the top 10 with his sword principle. That's true. Being able to comprehend the Tao law doesn't mean that one's combat strength is awesome. Although Shi Chao is powerful, he's only in a first-rate academy. With my current strength, it's indeed not something that others can estimate. Chen Hao thought to himself. However, what they said makes sense. The world is coming, and spirits of all things like Shi Chao may really appear. I can't let my guard down. As for him, Chen Hao narrowed his eyes and glanced at Morong Qianhua, who looked a little solemn in the distance, with a touch of disdain. Such a love rival couldn't even arouse his fighting spirit. Si Xian could easily deal with him by herself. As for Tang Hu and Xian Yuanchen, who had jumped up and threatened to bet, they didn't dare to jump up now. If Chen Hao wanted to lower himself to their level, he would have mocked and ridiculed them. After the end of the team competition, the host announced a 3-day break. 3 days later, the individual ranking competition would still be held on Zhulu Peak. During these 3 days, the arbitration team would divide the participants into groups based on the information they had collected, arrange the competition process, and referees. After returning to his residence, Chen Hao wanted to apply to the dean to go to the palace where Parkway Academy was located to see his girls and siblings. However, before he could say anything, he was forcibly taken away by the beautiful teachers, Ruolan and Ruoxian, in the name of special training before the competition. At the same time, the other teachers took away Morong Qianhua, Si Xian, Tang Hu Xian Yuanchen, Wan Yishui Ao Guang, Ling Feng Shuefian, and the other strongest people of the 2 realms in Daihua Academy. It was also a special training before the competition. Moreover, they all stepped into the mind of the dean, Cheng Wanxiang. Daihua Academy wasn't the only one who did this. It could be said that most of the academies did the same. This was also the usual practice before the start of the individual competition. Buzz. The space shook, and Chen Hao and the 2 beautiful teachers, Ruolan and Ruoxian, appeared in the vast and boundless space. Chapter 1397. In the void, the aura of the heavenly Tao was countless times clearer than in the grand thousand worlds of the immortal emperors. The heaven and earth spirit qi was even thicker and purer. Chen Hao could clearly feel that he could directly absorb it without refining it. Moreover, he didn't feel any discomfort. The compatibility between the heaven and earth spirit qi was extremely high. Obviously, this was a pure vital essence that was specially condensed according to Chen Hao's aura, so that Chen Hao could quickly replenish it without any hindrance. He did not need to waste time recovering his energy. Ruolan's words proved this point. Little brother, the two of us will accompany you for these 3 days. Don't waste your time. This is a space that we sisters have specially created for you in our strongest immortal artifact. The quintessence here is completely compatible with you. The laws of the world have been strengthened countless times. It will undoubtedly be of great help to your cultivation and comprehension. Of course, the most important thing is that the two of us can feed you moves. Ruolan looked directly into Chen Hao's eyes with her beautiful eyes and said with a sweet smile. Feed me moves? Why? You don't like it? Cough cough. Why would I? It's just that, it's only 3 days. I just stepped out of the space of myriad Tao not long ago. I think it's more important to meditate. Don't underestimate our celestial artifact. Even the Dean is ashamed of his inferiority. We can activate the space-time law 3,000 times. It can't be. Chen Hao was shocked. Do you think I'm lying to you? Of course, we borrowed the power of the Dean's mind. Otherwise, with our cultivation, we would not be able to unleash the power of the celestial artifact to such an extent. Under the space-time law 3,000 times, that's 9,000 days. It's easy to comprehend the Tao of the space of myriad Tao, but using it is not something that can be done in a day. 20 years is too short. Moreover, for most of the top geniuses, they have basically surpassed the limits of their own realm. You are the same. Therefore, you can't rely on the realm of Tao to win. Absolute power, combat skills, tactics, and the unique skills that you are proficient in now are the key to victory. The only things that can be improved in a short period of time are absolute power and targeted tactics. After all, you have just reached the complete realm. That's true. Then I'll have to trouble you too. Chen Hao shrugged and cupped his fists. Why do I feel like you want to distance yourself from me? After hearing Chen Hao's words, Ruoxian faintly smiled. She took a step closer and lifted her beautiful face, as if she wanted to see through Chen Hao. Cough cough. How could that be? Big sister Ruolan, you're thinking too much. I didn't mean that. Fatty was slightly embarrassed. The beautiful teacher's senses are very sharp, and her attacks seem to be very fierce. Furthermore, she doesn't hold back at all. When she saw the fatty's abnormality, she immediately pointed it out. This seemed to be an extremely tempting thing for any man, but Chen Hao was rather annoyed. Are you done flirting? At this moment, the sexy and fiery Ruoxian suddenly spoke up. She seemed rather impatient. If that's enough, then let's begin. Don't waste time, this is consuming a lot of energy every second. Xian, are you jealous? Ruolan glared at the unromantic Ruoxian and said, Bah, I'm not interested. Is that so? Are you going to start? If not, I'm leaving. Alright. Brother, you should start refining your true origin first and raise your absolute power to your current limit. After Ruolan finished speaking, she directly went to Ruoxian's side and retreated into the distance. At the same time, she said, When you're done refining, we sisters will take turns to spar with you. Good luck. Immediately, the two figures disappeared from Chen Hao's sight. Indeed, I should first refine my absolute power to its limit. Phew. Chen Hao took a deep breath and slowly merged his mind into his body. Chen Hao's realm had just reached the complete realm of, I am heaven and earth, I am heaven and earth. Indeed, he needed to refine his true origin. This was also the most direct way to increase his combat strength. Then let's devour. Bus. Chi. With a thought, Chen Hao directly merged into the state of mind of the berserk demon realm. He began to crazily devour the spiritual energy of the world that was completely compatible with him. Moreover, it was constantly being compressed in his body. At the same time, the general outline of the Great Tao began to resound in Chen Hao's mind. Chen Hao had to take the pressure of being in the top 10 of the sword principle seriously. Moreover, although he knew that he could not hide his actions from Ruolan and Ruoxian, Chen Hao did not care. Immediately, golden lotus-like runes suddenly floated in his mind and condensed into mysterious runes that connected the heaven and earth. They began to devour the spiritual chi of heaven and earth crazily. A moment later, the thick and boundless heaven and earth spiritual chi began to fluctuate and gather towards Chen Hao at a faster and faster speed. Chen Hao's body, without any consciousness, began to expand slowly. What a fast devouring speed. Ruolan, look at him. Carefully sense his aura. Could it be that he's in the mad demon realm? It seems like it. No wonder he's devouring so fast. But doesn't the mad demon realm only appear when he's seriously stimulated? How would I know? You'll have to ask this little fatty. He's shrinking again. He's using the most direct, painful, and cruel method to refine his true origin. When Ruoxian saw the fatty's gradually expanding body suddenly shrink, she understood that the fatty was directly devouring and compressing the spiritual chi to break through his limits. What a crazy guy! Ruolan was also extremely surprised. They had used this kind of cultivation method before, but they would definitely not use it unless it was absolutely necessary. This was because the pain was not something that ordinary people could endure. More importantly, it was very dangerous. Once the physical body's limit was estimated wrongly, the body would explode and die. If it was too small, the effect would be greatly reduced. Therefore, under normal circumstances, very few cultivators would use this method. After 4 hours, Chen Hao had undergone 9 cycles of expansion and contraction. The true origin around his body was once again compressed to the limit. What was amazing was that streams of true origin that seemed to have no attribute, but could transform into any attribute, constantly escaped from his pores. Because he had reached his limit, his pores seemed to be forcing out faint traces of blood, interacting with the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. His limbs, veins, organs, and every cell began to expand again. However, this time, the expansion speed was much slower than the previous 9 cycles. He's compressing the spiritual chi and expanding at the same time? It seems like, it's crazy. How can he not be crazy when he's in the mad demon realm? If I'm not wrong, his consciousness is only left with a strand of obsession, and it's an obsession that he has set. Before he completes the requirements of his obsession, he will become more and more crazy. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.